Hello, everyone, and welcome to 124. Is that what you wanted, Manny?
Yeah, a little something like that seems fine.
That was just a little bit too much inflection.
Yeah,
Almost perfect tonality, though.
You sound a little too excited to be
you're
here.
not. You're not happy
We're
to be
really
doing it.
just trying to give some information out to some
remember,
nice people.
Imagine that you're narrating a VCR instruction manual, and that will get you very close to even.
Like a Burger King training video?
Yes, precisely.
Okay. Well, let's not do that.
Yeah, let's avoid that.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to 124. It's good to be here. I'm joined this week by my co-host Manny Merez
How's it going?
and Casey, the Wendover champion, Bloodworth.
I definitely don't feel like a champion, and I don't know that anybody has ever left Wendover feeling like a winner, even if they were winning. So,
So for those who don't know, we live in Salt Lake City, where there's a religious group that controls quite a bit of the laws here, and so we don't get to gamble. Like if you go to most places, you can probably find a casino.
no, so not necessarily. It's actually a federal law. Gambling is only legal in 4 states by federal law. The only places
How does New Orleans get away with it?
riverboats. The rivers are wild and free. You can
Oh,
gamble.
I see.
You can gamble on the river.
You're still allowed to shoot people with derringers if you feel you've been cheated.
Is New Jersey part of that?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Nevada, New Jersey, Delaware, and one other one. I can't remember which.
Okay, but Indian reservations are also
Right, because they're not part of the state technically.
Right.
I see.
They're their own
There
sovereign
was
countries.
it must have been an Indian reservation near Albuquerque because there was a casino near us there.
Yeah, most of New Mexico is Indian reservations. Maybe not most, a lot.
And then most other countries that like Magic players go to, they have casinos near them near the Magic site.
Yes, very true. But most Americans are familiar with not being able to gamble locally.
You guys talking about this has made me want to sell my entire Magic collection and put it all on black.
We have in fact many times left Star City events with our winnings and put it all on black.
Got to do it.
There was actually an argument once between some players that we all know whether you should switch or not. And Shadi Badran, he's a former Proto player, myself, we're like, no, you don't ever switch. Like if you ever switch, you're just technically you're reducing your odds. It's not so you are, but also like that's close to the gambler's fallacy because like technically each roll of the ball is individual, right?
Yeah, each
Right.
spin
Yeah.
stands on its own merits. So
But-
switching does not change your odds.
No, it's like
Right,
what,
but
40,
you should-
46,
you should-
48% every time?
Each individual is the same, but you should just not switch.
I agree.
There's not a reason to switch.
It's just
There's not a reason not to switch.
it's cowardly.
Well, yeah, I agree with Manny.
Oh, like it just like
You're gonna
you're a red
ride
man.
Yeah,
you're gonna
you're
ride
either
that
a red
ship.
man or a black
You're gonna
man.
ride that ship like it's the Titanic.
Or you're a 0 man. I don't know your life.
That's
I mean,
that's
that's
a sadistic man right there. I hate
You know
that
who's
guy.
a 0 man? All
Who?
of Oasis Games. You can check them out at
Oh.
oasisgameslc.com. You can get 15% off of your first order by using the code CCMTG at checkout. You can get 5% off of every order by using the code Would That Be Good? No spaces. Do you remember when we used to post to Reddit a lot? And somebody was
Oh, boy.
like, how do you spell CCMTG?
Yeah, what is this
What?
code? STCMTG.
And they
you
spelled it out
STEECIE. Like
It was
W.
was it-
Like
and-
We should totally
and this
do a
was the
Reddit Ask
moment-
Me Anything. That'd be so fun.
This was the moment where I decided never to log into Reddit again.
Sure.
and it,
Not that it's bad. Like if you like Reddit, it's whatever.
yeah. And yeah, we had nothing but problems with those people. Like not the listeners that use Reddit, although like we were never popular there, but just the Reddit like admins and moderators were
I was
nothing
gonna
but
say
trouble
the
for us.
listeners that listened, like the Reddit got us a lot of listeners, and like we were always like upvoted very highly.
Yeah, for a while, and then they just started removing it because
Yeah, they started blocking us, saying we were spamming the Spike subreddit.
What were you trying to do?
Nothing. We were just
Just
posting
post
the
the podcast.
podcast and then having discussions with the listeners.
Oh, I see. Well, let's do it again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care. I'm not doing it. I'm never logging into Reddit again.
I mean,
so
okay.
what they
I
told,
logged into Reddit one time to see a post about Efro, and that was the last time I logged into Reddit.
what they told me. I mean, we're getting way off topic, but what they told me was that can't be your only post. So, like, if you're going to post the podcast to Reddit, you have to contribute to the discussion regularly.
We did. We talked about the podcast
Yeah,
when the podcast was posted.
I was going to say the
No.
entire podcast.
Well,
was
they
talking
want us to
about
be
that.
part of the Spike subreddit all the time.
Right, like if somebody
I see.
posts a deck list, you comment on it,
Well,
things like that.
seems fair.
Yeah, it's reasonable.
That seems totally fair. So if there's somebody who's
I don't
at
think
hold
any
on,
of us are going to do that.
we won't. But if there's anybody that's a listener that is a contributor to the Spike subreddit and that posts to the Spike subreddit a lot, and you would like to talk to us about posting the podcast as well, let us know. Like, I'm totally fine with that. I think that is the target audience that we want to hit, and Reddit is a great tool for that. And if you are an avid Spike subreddit user and you want to post the podcast, we would appreciate it. I can't use Reddit. I get tilted.
Yeah, and the only thing that I use Reddit once in a while, but mostly for pro wrestling stuff. Almost never
And
for,
funny
for
pictures
Magic.
of goats.
Occasionally, yeah.
You know, I want to say something about Oasis to get back off the Reddit topic. And I got to go to Oasis today, and I had a great experience with the owner. I always have a great experience with Alex. And Quentin used to say this on the podcast a lot, and we don't really say it now that Quentin's gone. But when you are supporting Oasis, you're supporting like just a great guy in Alex Sittner. He is a guy that like gives a lot of people second chances, and just I just think he's a great person. So check out Oasis Games at oasisgamesllc.com and oasisccg.com. You too can be a supporter of this podcast by going to patreon.com/ccmtg. Once again, that's the letter C, the letter C, the letter M, the letter T, and the letter G.
That's Charlie, Mike, Tango, Golf.
I don't think it's Mike.
It absolutely is, Mike.
I don't think it is.
1,000,000%.
Okay. But yeah, there's tons of benefits. They will be reworked, as I just love you guys so much and just want to release tokens already, that there's a few benefits that will change. But we're going to do some like questionnaires of what people want, have some podcast meetings about it, and really make the Patreon page like something that you want to be a part of. But that is like a great way and probably the best way to support the podcast. Shopping at Oasis Games is just good for you, and you should just do it.
Plus,
But-
you get a discount, which
Yeah.
is like just really running up the score, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, just being able to find all the cards that you need just right when you need them is the best thing in the world.
Yeah, so check them out. Don't forget. But yeah, check out the Patreon page and subscribe. It means a lot to us. Like, and it starts at $1 and goes up to anything that you guys see fit, and it means a lot to us. Let's go on to so this week we're going to be talking about a huge subject in never. What is the never justify your loss? Is basically the training grounds this week. So we'll get into that. We're going to do legacy power rankings, and we also have a great question from one of our patrons. So, but let's start with hashtag always improving. So hashtag always improving is kind of the segment of the show where we talk about how we improved at Magic to show that Magic just isn't you guys improving, that Casey, Manny, and I always have something that we can be doing to improve with you. So this week, I owe push-ups.
Oh, what did you do?
So Austin and I both did this in the same match against each other, where we fetched incorrectly and ended up with fetch lands in our deck that we knew were in our hand that we could no longer fetch with because we fetched the wrong land the turn before. And so, as per team rules of Team CCMTG, I owe Austin 10 push-ups. And Manny, I would like you to count them.
All right, you got it. I'm going to get my drill sergeant on right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good job, man. I did not think you were going to do that. Like, not physically. I didn't mean like, I didn't think you were physically incapable of the 10 push-ups. I didn't think you were going to do it
You
on
thought
the
it was
show.
going to be just like all Hollywood magic.
No,
Like you were just supposed to count and he wasn't going to do anything.
Harness. No, just.
I
like,
owed
didn't see
Austin
that
10
coming.
push-ups.
Yeah.
Like, one thing that we talked about as a team, or me, Manny, a couple of other people, is like if you tap your mana incorrectly, like that just costs you games. I'm like winded. I'm super fat. And so if you mess up like your lands, like do 10 push-ups for that match.
It's good. I like it. It seems
I mean,
great.
it's just a reminder to not do it again, right? Which is what's important.
Yeah,
I've actually like since they changed the coverage rule a while ago about needing to play your lands in back, and like we both had a hard time adjusting, and I've made land mistakes. I feel like because of that, because I'm still not fully used to playing them in back. So I've definitely made land mistakes, and now it would be a good incentive not to make those mistakes in the future, right?
Yeah, and so I've done 20. I think other people have done more than me. But yeah, I'm all about improving, so I'm happy to do those push-ups. So that's my always improving moment this week. Well, I take a breather, Manny. What did you do to improve?
I picked up my volume of play. So last week when I was on the podcast, I was talking about having kind of a rough time, and we talked about all of the things that we do to get better and get refocused, and they worked. And I every time I sat down, I took every single match very seriously. I focused on each game and only the game that I was playing, and I did very well. I top 8'd along with I guess half the top 8 was the CCMTG team. Go us.
If only we could win one.
Yeah, statistically speaking, we're just the worst closers in the business.
Dude, Matt was really upset about this today. He's like, do you realize that we have more top 8s as a group than
anybody.
anyone?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but we can't freaking win.
Right, we'll get there. I bet you this Saturday we'll get it.
Yeah, contrary to popular belief, the CC does stand for constructive criticism, not can't close. So let's quell that rumor right now.
If somebody said that to us, I would laugh so hard and be insulted. Anyway, so I did all of those things. I took some deck suggestions actually from our Facebook support group. Not support group. What do you call it? The closed group. Nobody.
The constructive criticism Facebook group.
Yeah, that's the one. So Matt Kramer was posting a list that he had a lot of success with red black dragons, and I copied a lot of it. I took a lot of his cues. I was playing probably 73 or 72 of the same cards, and I did very well. I did great. I was happy with my performances. I couldn't close like the rest of the team, but I was happier with my performance this last weekend than any of the others.
What about you, Casey? How did you improve at Magic this week? I would go further, but I actually just hate red black dragons and don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I had to learn a hard lesson.
It's a good deck.
I made kind of a late audible, not super late, but I decided about Thursday that I wanted to play Grixis instead of Jeskai Black because I just hate the mana in Jeskai Black, and I still do hate the mana in Jeskai Black, and I think that's kind of a huge shortcoming of the deck. But in my decision to play Grixis, I felt blinded by that fact, and basically just played a worse deck than Jeskai Black. I think that it just has weaknesses, specifically the lack of life gain. Without a divination in the format, needing to pay life to draw cards in the early to mid game is so punishing if you don't have a way to gain it back.
It was a huge decision for me to not play Grixis because as a team we actually just tested Grixis for an entire day. We had 4 people over at my house. We just mono tested Grixis. You tested Grixis with Matt that night.
Yeah,
that's 6 people testing one deck.
Yeah, and we all came away with it thinking it was great.
Well, I think that we all came away with it with a few conclusions. First of all, Kalidas is a great Magic card.
Incredible.
Yeah. Secondly, Fire Impulse is a great Magic card. It's basically Lightning Bolt. That's what Matt and I came to the conclusion to. We were talking about that today. Another conclusion we came to is Goblin Dark Dwellers just wasn't that great in testing.
Not in that shell.
Yeah, it just wasn't holding up.
I think that we were wrong, though. I think that it might be correct in that shell to play it, even though it feels bad.
I mean, you do need some other source of card advantage. That's what I was talking about in the Facebook thread.
Yeah.
That, you can't survive on just painful truths alone for your card advantage.
I think that Michael made a great point that, and this is something that you'll see, I am going to post a testing video this week, where I actually have Read the Bones in my Grixis control deck over painful truths. You just don't have enough way to gain life.
Right. I paid 2 Read the Bones and 1 Painful Truths for the same reason, and it still felt short. I think, and I may be wrong about this, but I think that ultimately what I did do was played a worse version of another deck, which is, Patrick Chapin would call that violating the Prime Directive. You just can't do it. That's the number one thing you can't do as a deck builder, is play test something and just end up with a worse deck than the deck you're trying to improve upon.
Yeah, I think that that's a big thing to learn, and we all have to learn it more than once in our Magic careers. The podcast has improved in quite a few ways this week. So first of all, we have an increase of visitors to the website by 2,000.
2,000 more?
Yeah, so I don't know that it's different listeners, or not listeners, different visitors. The articles are getting hits. Just so you know, every week Casey posts the power rankings with a little explanation of what the decks are doing and what to expect in a specific format, and then I post what we play. So this is deck lists with simple explanations from each of us. So I talk about the decks that we would each play, and talk about how bad Red Black Dragons is. Not really, but
Bad
little
enough
bit.
to top 8 a PPTQ.
Yeah, but every deck is top 8 at a PPTQ.
That's
yeah,
fair.
but I was playing the worst deck in the world, then I beat you. You were the only person I could beat.
You were up until the top 8. You were my only loss for the day.
Wild.
I know. I think it was just maybe
I
that was one of your few good matchups.
Yeah, I beat Manny and then soundly got crushed twice in a row and left and went and saw Deadpool.
Good day.
Good life decisions.
Yeah.
But yeah, so check out the articles on the website every week. Matt Kling and I have figured out the recording situation and like how to do the videos. So those will come up every week. This week's video will have some audio issues in the pre-board games, but the post-game board games will be perfect. Currently, we're trying to figure out a way to do life totals so that you can see them, because I'm not doing that in post because I don't have the time. But I do make an effort to tell you what life totals are throughout the match, like a lot. So hopefully that's helpful, and you guys can just enjoy the matches. And yeah, we don't have a third guy doing life totals as we're recording. Otherwise, it wouldn't matter. Maybe we should.
Maybe you should.
You could just get like a whiteboard, right? And like
That could work.
Like
I
right
might
there
do
big.
that. I appreciate that. Actually,
Like just off to the
yeah,
side.
I actually appreciate that. I'm going to do that. That's actually the best idea. So I was going to do the iPad, but because I'm recording off my Mac and we're using a Microsoft Light camera, there's one of the companies has it so that you can't download the software. I actually believe it's Microsoft. I believe that they won't allow. They just won't create software for Mac. So I can't adjust the camera settings.
I see.
I can just plug it in and use it. So we will be getting a new camera for the YouTube channel, so like lots of things will change. But yeah, check out articles and a video every week. And then I have a few video ideas for that weekly blog post that I talked about. I recorded one this week about but I'm not going to post it because I didn't like it. But I will be doing a weekly thing. And then don't forget that every month there will be a deck tech with me and Manny. So
Fun stuff.
But our patrons of the show also want to always be improving. And this week we have a question from Matt. And he says, hey, actually, Casey, why don't you read this?
Oh, it's so long. No, I'm just kidding. It is long, but it's good. It's a good question. Let's see.
Did you not see it?
Not well. Okay. So, it says, hey, I wasn't sure if you were still doing the Patreon question of the week, if someone randomly had one. Well, I do, and I think it would be a good thing for you guys to talk about on the cast. Recently, I've gotten into the competitive Magic scene, and I'm trying to grind an invitational invite and an RPDQ invite. The good news is that last year I achieved one of those goals by grinding enough IQs to get my invitational invite. And I will be going to Columbus in a few months to play in the invitational, and I'm very excited. The bad news is that all of my testing and going to events was to the detriment of my grades. I failed 3 of my 4 classes, and scraped by with a C in the 4th one, which should have been an easy A in my communications class. So far this semester, I've been trying harder to focus on school and play competitive Magic. Doing things like saying I can't play in Sunday events so I can do all my homework that day, or limiting my weekday playtesting to after homework is done. So my question to you is, what do you do to keep Magic in balance with the rest of your life? And what advice do you have for a college student struggling to find that balance between school, work, and Magic? Thanks for all the work you guys put in every week. You were one of my favorite, and sorry, Spencer cut the rest of it off from me.
You were one of my favorite Magic
You were one of
podcasts.
my favorite Magic podcasts, and I look forward to listening to you each week, Matthew.
Sorry about that, Casey.
It's all right.
So the reason that I cut it off is we had a very similar question inside of the constructive criticism Facebook group. So I'm going to go to that, and I'm just going to read my responses because I actually it put a lot of my emotion into it, I guess. Because this is something that hits home really hard for me. So give me 1 second.
I can talk about what I do. So Magic is a really big, important part of my life. I love playing it. I love trying to get in the competitive aspect of it, but it is very time consuming. You have to find time for testing, time for playing. You have to make, space in your day to do those things. And I think the thing that helps me personally the most is just being organized, knowing, scheduling, actually playtest times with friends, saying, oh, I can do this from 4 to 6 this day. Then after that, I have reports to file for work, or, I have to spend time with my girlfriend because she will be very unhappy with me and make my life unhappy. Just things like that. I mean, organization is going to be your best friend, and prioritization. So, obviously your schoolwork should be number 1. I mean, if anything's getting in the way of that, just, downgrade it a little bit. I'm not saying, stop playing Magic or don't be competitive, but, keep everything in perspective.
So we got a similar question on the Facebook group, like I said, and what Manny said is right. And it's actually funny. I was going to do a podcast on time management. That was going to be in the next month's podcast. But this question is just what we're just going to answer it now. So here's what I wrote. I said Friday nights are date night for me. Without fail, me and my wife go on a date. My wife gets me to herself that night every week. I also do a monthly lunch with my dad. And do everything I can to speak with my siblings each week. So I text my siblings, call them. I text my brother for about 2 hours last night. I just do everything I can to like talk to my family and like be involved in their lives and be involved with important people. This is a little different than school, but it's kind of the same principle. And then this is what I wrote to kind of explain my thoughts on the subject. I said, magic was once a huge point of contention in my marriage. At times it still is. You would think that it's mostly because of her, on her end, but it's actually on both. Magic is really important to me. It's changed my life in many positive ways. For those who don't know, I'm diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and there's a huge struggle in my life. Magic has placed amazing people around me, like these two nerds, and the love and support that I'm shown from them, I might cry. Hold on. Magic has placed those people in my life. They're the exact people that I need to deal with my disability. So when my wife gets mad about magic, it makes me feel like you want to, like, that they want to, like, when my wife would get mad about magic, it's like, you want me to pick you or magic, and that's not fair to me. And it's a huge problem because, as you guys can tell, I'm like emotional about this. And so how do you deal with that? How do you... Because I love my wife. Like as listeners of the podcast know, like my wife is the single most important thing in my life, and then this podcast and magic are probably number 2. So how do I do that? And so eventually I got done fighting about it. I told my wife Deviner that I wasn't choosing. I loved magic and it was important to me, but I also loved her, and I don't want magic to run our lives and tell us when we could spend time together. I told Dev that we would start doing date night every single Friday night and that I would never miss one for magic. Anything, and I would never miss it for literally anything unless we moved it beforehand. She didn't actually believe me, and to this day, I have not missed a date night without discussing it with her first or moving the date. I make sure that she knows I love her and that I want to spend time with her. I also usually spend my Monday night watching TV with her, whether it's the stupidest show on the earth called The Bachelor or something else.
She loves The Bachelor.
I don't think she does, but her friends do.
Peer pressure.
It is
a huge factor.
It is.
I mean, that's definitely why I play Magic.
I make time when I can for playtesting. Like Manny said, a lot of my playtesting is, hey guys, I have like 2 hours. Who wants to playtest? Or I schedule with about 4 people and we just do playtesting. My Mondays are reserved for Matt Kling. We playtest whether we have a video or not. Because of date night, though, I actually get to play more meaningful games of Magic. And that's what's important here. We kind of talked about making meaningful plays last week. And we have in the past talked about making your games more meaningful. So I actually think that instead of doing a time management podcast, we will do playtesting part 3. And just talk about how positive playtesting results in more meaningful games than just playing Magic. So we'll talk about that. But I play more meaningful games now than I used to. I'm not worried that it's a fight anymore because I'm always going to pick my wife over playing Magic that day. It also caused my wife to be more supportive when I chose to do this Friday night or date nights things. She knows how much Magic means to me and has helped me in my life. And knowing that makes it so that she knows that I'm not picking it over her, but she started wishing me luck. She started texting me during events and wants me to do better because it means that I'll get to spend more time with her if I do well. I like the PPTQ scene. There are always times where you're going to have trouble in any relationship, and relationships are going to strain. But if Magic is important to you, or school is important to you, or whatever it is, there's a way for you to do both. It's just about managing that time and doing your best with the time that you have. So I improvised a lot on this. But I think the key points are, for you, Matt, is that when you're playtesting, play meaningful games of Magic. If Magic is important to you, don't get rid of it. Whether it's a can of Pabst that Casey's opening or whatever else.
That echoed so
It
loudly.
was so loud.
They can
Yeah,
hear
I
that
don't-
next door.
I don't know why that was so loud.
I tried so hard for it to be quiet.
Like,
Yeah.
It's like you were trying to like you just started eating corn
I-
nuts in the
I
middle of
think-
a funeral.
I think the is it Skittles? What is that episode of I think it's Skittles. He has that How I Met Your Mother, right? At the art show, he's like dropping Skittles everywhere. But I think that what's important is I really did have a problem with Magic for a long time, and it's actually funny. I think it was talked about on the podcast that my wife and I were fighting about Magic a lot in the first PPTQ season there was. And it actually wasn't until we stopped fighting. It was actually like the next day I won a PPTQ. Where it was like, I'm done fighting. Fridays are yours. We went on Day Friday. I won a PPTQ on Saturday. It was a life-changing event. Like, I am happier in my marriage now than I've ever been. I love Magic now more than I ever have. And if you ask Manny, like, he'll tell you my career is like amazing.
Yeah, everything's coming up Spencer right now.
But it all revolves around the mindset of always improving. It all revolves around the mindset of like, this is what I want to do. I'm going to do it. I would highly recommend that you decide that you lay out kind of what your week looks like. I usually play test with Casey or Manny or one of the teammates on 2 days a week. I play Magic with Matt on Mondays. Fridays I go on date nights with my wife. Mondays I do the podcast as well. And I kind of have a structure laid out. And then I have me time if I need it. Otherwise, I'm just playing Magic. I'm playing Pauper. I'm doing whatever I can to like increase those skills. I think doing the podcast does a lot. I think Casey feels the same way where like you kind of have to study in order to do this show.
Yeah, you have to know what you're talking about, and it does take more time, certainly. And, I mean, it's something that I like doing, and I'm very happy to put in the time. But, yeah, it's certainly a commitment.
Casey, is there anything that I didn't say that you'd like to add?
Or just what's your take on that? How would you answer that question, Casey?
Well, I'm probably one of the worst people in the world at this, so it's tough. I tend to do things in general until I burn out. But the best advice I can give is definitely if playing in a Magic event feels like you're going to work, probably skip it because you're not going to play very well. And there's probably other things you need to be focusing that time on. Otherwise, remember, it is a game. It is meant to be fun. Get in as much.
It is?
Yeah.
What?
Get in as much Magic playing and as much playtesting as you can, but don't sacrifice the rest of your life for it. Easier said than done, but just prioritize. Putting together a schedule is great for some people. I don't work very well that way. A lot of other people are the same way. Like, I sometimes... Like, it didn't even occur to me that yesterday was going to be Monday, knowing that the previous day was Sunday. That's how poor my concept of time is. So, it's, different strokes for different folks. But if you work well on a regimented schedule, definitely try to put one together. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, for me, just whenever something is important to me, I make time for it. Like, whether it be, if I need to wake up a little bit earlier or if I need to, go to bed a little bit later, just things like that,
Yeah.
If you love something, like, you will find a way.
Yeah, making time instead of finding time, right? Like, you can't always find time, but if it's something that's important to you, you can make time for it.
Would you guys care to take a guess why my work schedule is the work schedule it is? Let's think. So I have Monday, Tuesday, Saturday off.
Yeah, it's pretty lucky that it ended up that way, that you can just play in, PPTQs every week.
And also record and edit the podcast every week.
Yeah, kind of wild.
On time, right?
It just fell into that, right?
Yeah, weird. I think that in the end, like, you should probably finish school before you like take Magic super seriously.
Well, Magic's always going to be there. That's like the nice thing. Like, if you have
you're paying for school.
Yeah, if you have a semester off, like, you can grind it out and like work hard there. Or once you've graduated and you're making a lot of money, you can have all the cards you want and have all the time you want to play.
Yeah, I think that Quentin, when he was at the podcast, talked about this a lot. Where like, there's so much Magic content out there. Like, consume it in the best way possible. Listen to this podcast. Listen to the limited resources. Listen to limited time only. Whenever I get a chance to like record that again, and then like read Magic articles, watch Magic streamers. Like Quentin would watch a Magic video while he was going to bed every single night. And for me, I started doing that too. Like most of my Magic like I listen to about 4 Magic podcasts a week to and from work. I consume content when I can, but I don't make Magic more important than the things around me. My job and my wife are very important to me, and I have a lot of success playing Magic for like the amount of time that I put in, and I'm quite happy with it. So I hope that answered your question, Matt. Let us know if there's anything else we can answer for you. If you have anything that you'd like to add, don't hesitate to give a comment on the website and discuss this, guys. Card of the week this week. So, whenever we can, we like to give out some swag to some patrons of the show. This week we want to give out Endless One to Tim C. He's one of the patrons of the show. So Tim, just shoot us an email or a message on the Patreon page and we'll hook you up. But Casey, what is Endless One? Hold on. So timeout. I'm the only one that said this card was playable in the set review. Let's just start with that. Casey, go ahead.
Yeah, I still think that it's not playable. No, it costs X mana for an XX. So, it will always pass the vanilla test, so that's a start. If you're playing it in a deck with Ayavugan, you get an extra 2 tacked onto it, which makes it
we'll see.
Pretty
see
silly.
About this card. Because, without things like Ayavugan, it's still very vanilla, right?
Standard Eldrazi will play this card.
Yeah, but whatever. Look, if Eldrazi wasn't in this card, it would be whatever.
We're going to do a podcast on word theory, by the way, where it's just me and Casey talking about the theory of words, where a certain number of words make a card playable. I think that there's a flexibility theory also, where a certain amount of flexibility also makes a card playable, and I think this card falls under that.
Right. Kolagun's command is like a case study on that, right? Like, none of those modes are powerful, but that card is great. And
charms at large, right?
I can just imagine you guys with your case study, in lab coats, writing things down with click pens on clipboards.
That's the plan. Yeah,
chewing on the end of the pen.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, this card is great. So yeah, Tim. First of all, I think the Endless One is great. I've played it in multiple decks. I've had it as big as a 10/10. I've had it as small as a 2/2.
That's degenerate.
I just actually think the card is great, and we'll see play in for time to come. Tim, we're going to actually double it up for you, though. We're going to give you 2 Endless Ones, so just hit us up. I'll ship them to you. Thanks a lot, man. We appreciate your support. Let's go into Legacy Power Rankings. We're going to start with, we're doing the last 2 weeks, so since, 2 events, not 2 weeks. Since Oath came out, we're going to do Goblins coming in with 6 points. So the way the point scale works is first place you get 6, second place you get 5, third and fourth you get 4. Top 8 you get 3, top 16 you get 2, and if available top 32 you get 1. Goblins coming in with 6 points. So I actually do think that the format has shaken up where Goblins, Elves, Merfolk, those decks actually have a place in this format. I think that too many people are trying to attack the top 3 decks or archetypes, which is Delver, Miracles, Shardless, those decks.
Yeah.
And then Storm is somewhere also in there.
Yeah.
And so because of that, Elves and Merfolk and Goblins, they're very linear, and they can do that.
Well, and they're also very, very easy to get into the format with as well.
Well,
I don't know. Some of these decks are...
All these decks are actually really expensive.
They are, but just the thought of not having duels makes them more appealing, right?
All of these decks but Merfolk play duels, right?
Goblins usually does, but it's usually Badlands or Plateau, or Taiga, which is considerably cheaper than the blue dual lands.
It's like buying a Verdant Catacombs, right?
But also it plays Wasteland and Rashadenport, which if you're playing on MTGO is 10 times more expensive than any dual land.
That's true. Just looking at this mana base, though, it doesn't look cheap. It's 4 Wastelands, 4 Rashadenports, 4 Cavern of Souls, a Badlands, and then Arid Mesa, which is one of the more expensive fetch lands. And luckily, you can play Bloodstained Mire, Wooded Foothills, stuff like that. This deck is not playing the White Splash, so a lot of them will play a Plateau, or stuff like that.
Yeah, it still doesn't seem bad, right? 1 Cavern of Souls is equivalent to 1 tropical island.
What? 4
Cavern of Souls is equivalent to 1 tropical island.
Oh, you said 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant 4. I meant 4. No.
So this Goblins deck that got these 6 points is a little bit more. It's very different.
Yeah, you've got your core cards.
This is
you've got your core cards that you always play in every Goblins deck.
Sure, you got 4 Goblin War Chief, 4 Ringleader, some number of pile drivers. Actually, 3 pile drivers.
1 sharpshooter, usually 2 or 3 pile drivers. 1 to 2 gem palm incinerators. Usually 1 chieftain. Like
Krenko Mob Boss.
Yeah, Krenko Mob Boss is exciting. This deck is like super interesting. It doesn't like when you think of goblins, I think Goblin Grenade and Mog Offensive and silly cards like that. Like those, when you hear the word goblin, that's what pops into my head. But this deck is like basically mono red control, right? Like you're just grinding them out.
This is like a CGN Commander Krenko Mob Boss deck.
Right. Legacy Goblins is like a super grindy deck. Yeah. You will like discard the hand size from like just going off with ringleaders. Like the deck is pretty silly.
So glad this deck doesn't have Recruiter.
Yeah.
I do think that this deck has a place in the format. I'm glad that this deck exists. I don't know how I feel about like playing it right now. I just don't feel like you're favored against Shardless or Miracles. But I do think you're a huge favorite against Delver.
Oh yeah, you're also a pretty big dog against Storm. Like just you're like there's not.
I feel like if you wanted to beat Storm with any deck, you can do it though.
I mean, you can, but it's tough. You have to basically you have to draw your sideboard cards, and they have to have basically nothing, right? Like, which is a strategy for any deck to beat Storm, but. In a Storm heavy meta, I would not recommend playing Goblins. Let me just put it that way. But you are pretty soft, 2 Miracles. Most fair decks, though, you just eat them up, crush them like it's nothing.
We're gonna move on. I'm gonna talk to Manny about my favorite deck in Modern or in Legacy that I never get to play. You ready for this, Manny?
Oops, all spells.
No, the one that I never get to play because it's like impossible to play, but it's actually like the funnest deck ever, and that's Elves. It's coming in with 7 points.
I thought you were going to say lands, and I was like abruptly going to end our friendship.
Oh, no, I actually hate that deck.
Yeah, that deck's the exact opposite of fun.
Yeah. But Elves, however, actually is like, first of all, really fun to play, really hard to play, and actually really good.
That definitely it is your favorite deck. Probably after Merfolk. Well, after Merfolk and Shardless Bug.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Matt Hoey. He's actually like one of my favorite SCG grinders. He top 16 with Elves this in Columbus. So it was actually the last Legacy event. But I just kind of want to talk about like Manny, as somebody who's kind of like newer to the competitive scene.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think Elves does that makes it good?
Crushes things, like annihilates them. Lets very good skilled players let them play.
It also attacks from multiple angles, which is really powerful. Just being able to play like this sort of mediocre beatdown strategy with, you have mana advantage, you can really get guys on the board fast, and you have things like Elvish Visionary that replace themselves. And, even if you get like a small glimpse, like Glimpse play a few guys, like it lets you put quite a bit on the board without really sacrificing much and beat them down until they tap out or until they do something, and then you just get them with a natural order or a Green Sun Zenith to go for the kill. So if you combine like the ability to beat down with turn 2 or 3 combo kills, like the deck is just really hard to play against and insanely hard to play.
This is one of those decks that I remember during my New Year's resolution of like watch Magic or read Magic content every day, which I have failed at, but I've done really well at it. Reed Duke had released a video series on Elves, and it was interesting seeing how different he played the deck than I did, and like LSV plays the deck so differently than I do. But I know that they're so much better at Magic than me that I can learn from them and adopt them, even though like there are things that I still think that I would do differently. And I think the deck is just not linear. And that's so interesting for a deck like this, because you like look at it, you're like, oh, this is a very linear deck. You want to ramp into like a Greater Hope Behemoth.
Linear in your mind, right? Like
it's not linear in my mind after playing it.
No, sure. But it seems like it would be like, okay, yeah, I'm playing mono green ramp,
right?
Like, and that's not what you're doing at all.
A lot of things happening.
Yeah,
right.
Like
gears are turning.
There's like Cabal Therapy post board, Thoughtseize post board. Like oh my gosh, the boarding with this deck is also like half the battle.
Yeah, because you can afford to board out so few cards, but your cards are so powerful, right?
So Manny, have you played in a Legacy event where I played Elves?
I have not. I have never played in a Legacy event. Just play testing.
Oh, really? Like so when Oasis used to do Legacy events on Sundays, I used to go to them.
So I played, quote, played in one, but there was only like 5 people there, so we just did a round robin for fun.
Yeah, and Elves is like one of my favorite decks to take to those things.
I mean, I've seen it on coverage. I've seen it, played on camera, it seems so very good. Where this deck can just kind of come out of nowhere, right? You like play a visionary like with nothing into everything.
Yeah, Matt Kling and I for a long time believed this was the best deck in Legacy that didn't see play because it's just impossible to play correctly.
Yeah, I mean
it's the epitome of what we talk about on this podcast all the time of managing your resources.
Sure.
And it's like it's so hard to do that correctly.
Yeah, I mean I've played the deck myself, and there's just so many lines you have to like stop and slow down and think which line is optimal, what your opponent could be playing. There's just so many different ways to play it. It's hard to know if you're ever doing the most optimal play.
Yeah. If you haven't tried Elves, check it out. It's a great deck, and I think that it has like pretty good matchups. Like, what's its bad matchup, Casey?
Decks with Umezawa's Jitte and Forcible. So like Stoneblade decks are pretty bad, but most decks are pretty good. It's also pretty soft to basically every other combo deck because every other combo deck is faster and as or more disruptive than you. And like your beatdown strategy doesn't usually get there against Storm. So like there can certainly be hostile metas to it, but the deck is powerful and you can still get free wins against. Because in Legacy, like no deck is ever going to be more than a small fraction of the meta, right? So even your most popular decks, you might play once in 10 rounds. So keep that in mind. I mean, the deck is always going to be viable. And it's a deck that rewards mastery also. So if you're going to play the deck, you need to play it all the time.
Yeah, I think LSV went undefeated at a Pro Tour with this deck and extended. Correct?
No, he won the Pro Tour with this deck and extended. But it was Pro Tour Elves. Like everybody was playing Elves. But he had the best version of Elves for the mirror. But he went undefeated at the following Pro Tour with the aggro deck that Tom Ross designed.
Oh, okay. Coming in with 11 points. It's why is this deck synonymous with me? I only played it at one SCG ever.
Well, you talk about it a lot.
I mean it's
like if Magic decks were people, this would be one of your better friends. you would ask it to the movies. You'd hang out with it. You watch football with it. You'd be with it all the time. You okay?
It would be one of my better friends. I do have an affinity for blue-green decks, like a lot. And this is the best. This is the best blue-green deck. This is everything I want. Obviously, I like Rug a little better than Bug, but actually, there was a Rug Ancestral Visions deck before Shardless Agent was printed, and I played that deck too. I don't know. Like, so obviously, coming in with 11 points, we have Shardless Bug. I have had success with the deck at a SCG circuit, top 16ing. Maybe I took 17th because of draw. I don't know. Where I like lost a win in for top 8. I think that this deck just has good miracles and Delver matchup, and that's what makes it so good.
Yeah,
like, neither of those decks can beat you, and like that's huge. And you have like decent game of you're like a 50-50 deck against most other things. And you can build your deck to beat Storm, just like every deck can build their deck to beat Storm if you want to. And that is so much of the metagame. It's funny because like there are people that play Legacy that are like, Shardless is bad, it's just Shardless players just love it. And it's like, no, Shardless is good, and you don't like playing against it because you don't like Jund decks.
Yeah, I do think that this deck is kind of metagame dependent. Like, you can
I
build
guess
your deck.
Like in a mono Charbelcher field, you're probably not playing this.
Well, like against combo decks at large, like yeah, you can decide to play more counter magic, but like playing Shardless Agent does limit what counter magic you can play in your deck.
Well, I mean, you can play Forcible and Mindbreak Trap, right? What else do you need?
I mean, sometimes that's just not enough, though, right? Like,
well, you have him to Torok and Thoughtseize too. I think that there are combo decks that you can't beat. Like I cited Belcher and Usos Belcher. Like you're not beating those decks.
Yeah, I also you're like 10% against Sneak and Show. If that deck ever
No, you're totally fine against Sneak and Show.
Interesting.
You cannot beat you. So Storm and Sneak and Show you're fine against. I don't know that Omni Show you could beat. They're like a little bit faster.
So the dig through time version of Omni Show was faster. The non dig through time version.
I guess I had like it was actually funny. I was about to play Test Legacy on my MacBook, and I like loaded up a deck and I started playing and I was like, I was like, hey, I have to concede. I have to dig through time in my deck.
Yeah, that puts you at such a huge advantage over whatever else you're playing.
Yeah,
just bringing a gun to a fist fight.
Yeah, it was great. I guess that's true. I don't know. Like most of the Legacy I play Elves a lot in Legacy now. And Oops All spells. I have a weird affinity for that deck. But I do think that Shardless can be built to beat metagames, just like most Jund decks can. But there are degenerate enough decks that you can't beat it. I think that it would be wrong to say that you're bad against combo decks at large, because that's not true. You can build your deck just like any Jund deck to beat a specific metagame.
You can, but then in order to do that, you do have to give up some of your percentage points against the...
Against what? You're not giving up percentage points against the decks that matter, like Delver and Miracles. Like, you just beat those decks. They're just bad against you. I guess if you were on the... So this actually did happen at one point. So at one point, Shardless players were like, we're not going to play any Baleful Strix, and that was just always wrong. And in those metagames, they did give up huge percentage points.
Right, but then if you're drawing a bunch of Baleful Strix and Abrupt Decays against Storm, you're going to lose, right? So you do have to make decisions.
You can be aggressively mulliganing post-sport. Storm is a bad example. I actually believe that you can always beat your... I think that you have the tools in Bug to always beat Storm. I don't think you have the tools to beat literal degenerate combo decks. I don't know how you would ever beat High Tide with this deck ever. You have too many things you have to counter.
Yeah, you can't beat High Tide.
No, right. That's my point. Is I guess what I'm trying to say is this. And I don't know why I feel like I need to defend this deck, because it just does well, right? I don't...
You're buddies.
Well, no, it's because we're buddies. Because it's my friend. I love him. But Deathrite Shaman, Hymn to Torok, there's just these decks are so good.
Yeah, playing my personal experience playing this deck is Hymn to Torok is a freaking all-star. Every time you cast it, you're just how do I lose this game?
Casey makes a good point. So I am not on the mono Force of Will plan. If you see me ever playing a deck with 4 Force of Wills in Shardless, you can slap me across the face. It is wrong. You shouldn't be doing it, because you don't need to dedicate that much to combo. There's only how many combo decks are you realistically going to run into that you can't beat post sideboard with this deck?
Not a lot, but so at an SCG, I think that this deck is fine. But if you play the place that has 12-man legacy events every now and then, there's plenty of places where I wouldn't play this deck, right? If there's going to be 4 people on Storm, I wouldn't play this deck.
I guess as most of my legacy exposure is SCG Vegas's.
Right. So big legacy events, I think this is a great deck. For if you play legacy locally at all, I'm just saying there's plenty of metagames where I would not even consider this deck.
I mean, the only legacy deck I actually own is Oops All Spells, right? So
sure.
I don't know. I just think that Shardless gets a bad rap because people don't like Jund decks, and that's just not fair for the deck. You're putting the deck in a box, and that's not fair. It's not. It's if I did the same thing for every mono red deck, would that be fair?
No.
If I put goblins in the mono red box, you'd be no, that's not what this deck is.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Comparing goblins to Burn, right?
Yeah, and oh my gosh, talk about a bad matchup for Shardless.
Which one? Both of them, right?
No, I think you can beat goblins because you have Toxic Deluge up to 3 post board.
Yeah, but
Burn, you just actually have 0 chance. You've seen people run as many as 3 chills. I do think that the one that makes a 1/1 that has Echo is surprisingly good against you.
Yeah, that's just one of the best cards in the deck. I actually Toxic Deluge is good against goblins, but I would assume the fact that by the time you can cast it, they're probably
mono.
They're already discarding to hand size.
Yeah.
So okay, you board wipe me, play 3 guys, go.
Yeah. It's hard because Jace the Mind Sculptor is surprisingly good against goblins, unless they get their War Chief out or quick.
Yeah.
Because War Chief is good against Jace. So, we're getting into really specifics on this one.
Yeah.
I think that what Casey's saying is right. I think that in order to play this deck, you want to know the metagame you're playing against, and then tune your sideboard and such for that. And that's it. Other than that, I think the deck is great. Coming in with 20 points, we have Miracles. I actually am offended that Wizards hasn't banned Top yet, and that's all I'm going to say on this.
This deck is sweet. It's definitely it's interesting to see how people build it, because there are a few different builds of Miracles that people play. Some people play 0 creatures. Some people play as many as 5
versus the non-Vendilion click.
There's Ponder versions and non-Ponder versions.
Sure.
Joe said is basically playing blue-white wizards.
Do you remember when? You actually, I don't think you were playing. When were you playing when Blue White Wizards was actually a deck in Legacy?
No,
that deck was sweet.
There were older, sweeter versions of Miracles that played Energy Field and Rest in Peace and Helm of Obedience.
Oh man, dude, I beat that deck with Merfolk once. That guy was on tilt so hard.
Yeah, how? Like,
He was bad at Magic and I was not.
oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, that'll get him every time. So the deck does have some variations, but the core of it is, your cards that obviously are Miracle, specifically Terminus. The 1-mana board wipe is pretty clutch.
I would say like the heart to that deck is Sensei's Top and Counterbalance.
Well,
I actually don't know that that's true. Like,
is it not? Because I mean, that's always like where you're just like it's
I mean,
a lock, right?
that's
You can play through those other things. Like,
no, so that just makes your opponent concede. That's
so
not like,
that's how you win, not why you win.
you win because you have 1 mana 3-for-1 them.
Sure. And then you have Brainstorm, which is like even better than that. And then you've got Jace the Mind
Also
Sculptor.
1 mana 3-for-1. I don't know what he's talking about.
And then you got
Maybe it's a 5-for-1. Maybe you're drawing 3 cards and putting 2 bad cards away. So like it's
or you're putting a Terminus on top of your deck, which is like way better than it is
like
in your
6
hand.
for 2.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like the same thing.
that's
It's the same conversion rate,
right.
I guess, but it
but it feels better.
but it turns like an uncastable card in your hand into a 3-for-1, which
Okay.
is like insane, right? Anyway, the deck is super powerful. You can get knocked around because it is very slow to set up. This deck is prone to draws, so you'd have to play crisply and quickly when you play the deck. And
those game ones are important.
yeah,
I actually hate it. I actually just wish this wasn't a deck.
and you have to learn how to play Sensei's Divining Top correctly because
Shuffle
that's not easy.
your cards around a million times forever.
We have voiced our opinions very heavily on this. We had Curtis on the podcast from Spike V. He also doesn't like this deck. Like, I just think this deck is bad for Legacy, and I wish it was gone. Coming with 27 points, we do have Delver. You nerds love Delver. Why don't you guys?
I want to just clap and cheer and hoot. Like, just
I like that you have the Joe Lissette Miracles up.
yeah.
The main deck Pyroblast Monastery Mentor version.
Looks really
So-
interesting.
Delver decks, they're always going to be overrepresented in power rankings because they're overrepresented in what people play. Right? People play so many Delver decks. And ended up lumping them together, even though there were a few different ones, so that we wouldn't have 3 different Delver decks in the top 5.
So what happened there? What is the third version?
Blue-Red Delver had a show up, and so
What?
it showed up in some random event. And then maybe it was also, I think, 2 4-color Delvers, top 16, something like that. I don't know. I usually do it in a spreadsheet, so I know these things. I was doing it on paper.
I do see Blue-Red Delver taking 9th.
Yeah, and I think that showed up in another one too, but I could be mistaken. Maybe it was only 2 of the top 5. Either
Regardless,
way,
we lumped all the Delver decks together to give it
They're
27
They're
points.
all tempo
which-
decks that play Delver.
they're all they're not the
They're
exact
all
same.
actually just really different, in my opinion. Like,
So I mean,
Blue-Red
they-
is so much different than Rug. Rug is so much
Yeah.
different than Grixis.
I mean,
It's like,
definitely right. Like you're playing Stifles, you're not playing Stifles. Is
well, Matt Kling and I believe that you're just wrong for not playing Spice.
I
With
agree.
Any
I mean,
version.
If you have fewer than 4 stifles, your deck is bad and wrong, and you should go think about your life. And
and I mean, if you've ever cast one, that's a feeling that you want to have like every day of your life. Like
I don't know
imagine
that I've
Magic
ever-
you play.
I don't know that I've ever wanted to have that feeling, but I understand like that you should have that feeling.
Oh, I love
mean,
it. Oh my gosh, I
that's
love it
Kind
so
of like
much.
it's kind of like eating broccoli. Like you should do it. I don't know that I like it.
Oh, stifling someone to me feels like gorging myself with like cheesecake until I throw up.
Oh,
That's how good it is.
definitely more broccoli.
yeah, I love
I love it.
stifling and wastelanding my opponents just out of the game because Magic it's a
Yeah, you guys like broccoli. That's fine. People like broccoli.
it's zero sum, right? If I'm like casting all the spells and having all the fun, like it was still a fun match.
Yeah,
So-
it was good for me.
Maybe that's selfishness. I'm not sure, but if the number of like spells you want to play against over the course of a game is 0, Delver is a great deck to do that with. Like your opponent just never does anything. You beat them down with. My favorite is the Rug Delver. Delvers, Tarmogoyfs, Bolts, the whole shebang.
Just money.
It's a good time. Different people like to play Death Threat Shaman in the deck. I think that it's kind of like gives your deck an identity crisis, but it is a popular strategy.
Yeah, I like it. I like them all. I like Grixis. I like Rug a lot. I mean, who doesn't love Tarmogoyf, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's right where you want to be with the deck. I think it's something that doesn't die to Lightning Bolt and helps you take over the Delver Mirror. It's like the most important card in the mirror most of the time. It's a great card.
Have you given you guys enough time
Time for what?
for
I
you
guess.
guys to talk about Delver?
Yeah, I mean, not quite. Like I love it so much.
Well, let's move on to what we would play and why. I'm going to start. I think I changed my mind after today, so I'm either on Sagi Jun, so my my Teamer Delver deck, or my Teamer Black deck, or the Grixis deck that I playtested with Matt this week. I think that it has a very good rally matchup, and I don't think that there's enough ramp in the world for me to care. In Modern, currently I'm just on Blue-White Eldrazi. Like, I think that if you're not like doing that kind of stuff, you're doing it wrong. And I think that Blue-White with Displacer is the best way to go. In Legacy, when I look at these power rankings, I think there's not enough, like... here's the thing, is I'm on Oopspell spells, and the reason is because I think Cabal Therapy is really good right now. I think this is the best Cabal Therapy deck that kills them after you cast up Cabal Therapy almost instantly. And so for that reason, I'm on Oopspell spells. And that's it. I don't really have anything else to say on that. Manny, you are also on Grixis in Standard.
Yeah. So, in Standard, I think I've been testing Grixis Control. I developed my list independently of yours, but surprise, surprise, it's like very, very similar. We have maybe 4 or 5 cards difference, I think.
Matt Kling told me to tell you that you need to play.
Oh my gosh!
For,
Fiery Impulse.
you do like it's.
So I have access to them in the sideboard.
Hold on.
Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah,
so to put a background for you guys listening, Spencer and I got into a heated argument. I think it was yesterday about Grixis Control. The main difference in our list is that
it's actually the only thing I have wrong with your list.
Is it? Oh wow.
No, like you should just cut 2 Wrath, the 2 5-mana Wraths for the 2.
Oh, I love those so much though.
So
good.
They're great board cards. Here's the thing, and here's what Matt Kling and I believe is that you see that card as a shock, and we see it as a lightning bolt.
Sure.
And you are stupid not to play 4 lightning bolt.
I mean, so I understand that it can be a lightning bolt a lot of the time, but cards are good in specific metas, right? So like
and lightning bolt's really good right now.
So lightning bolt is a great card. It's an amazing
also
card.
Shock is also really good right now.
In a land with like 4/5s and 4/4s, I just don't see it as being that relevant.
So Matt Kling and I
problem
actually
is you live in a world of
you
Jaces.
don't. You live in a world of Jaces, Hangerback Walkers, and Mono Red, and you're not playing enough Shocks.
Sure, I mean,
So the specific example that you cited was it's not good against NFNs and Siege Rhino, and when I literally just Matt saw that, he was like, when is he playing against NFNs and Siege Rhino?
Oh, when I lost at the PPTQ.
But what you're doing is it's called results oriented thinking.
No, so I understand that Abzan is not like a lot of the field right now.
It's almost none.
So
it was one guy at that tournament.
Sure, right. So that's one of the reasons why I decided to start playing Sarkhan in my main board, because I'm not going to see very many Abzan charms, and I think that's a really great card. So I understand your guys' love affair with Fiery Impulse. I just believe that between Radiant Flames, which is like an immensely powerful card that I have plenty of in the main, that it's just a little overkill for smaller creatures that are going to be wiped away with the Radiant Flames.
I can tell you that in multiple matchups, there is never a time where you don't want to draw Fiery Impulse.
Sure.
And the one matchup that you're citing is the matchup where it's still good a lot of the time.
Sure, yeah, no, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad by any means, but I'm saying with playing 2 in the main...
So if the card was Lightning Bolt, would you ever not play 4 of it?
No, but it's not a Lightning Bolt.
It is in this format. That's what we're saying.
I mean, if I could launch it at somebody's face, it's a different story.
Well, you don't really do that in control decks, ever.
I mean, sometimes you do.
In Modern, you do.
Yeah.
Well,
which is the format we're citing for why this card is so successful.
No, that's
right?
not true.
It is true. Bolt, Snapcaster Bolt. You don't do that to people.
Did you play Standard with Lightning Bolt? You played it in control decks all the time. You never pointed at their face ever.
Sure, no, it's definitely a removal spell, but I just don't think it cuts the mustard. Like, so
Yeah.
your biggest thing, right, is I have some amount of Fiery Impulses, right? 2 in the main, 2 in the side. Now, what my counter argument is with Radiant Flames, not only do they Jace turn 2, right? So they may get 1 activation off of it. Maybe I can't stop
it'll
it.
flip.
Maybe I can't. Most of the time,
what
I have
happens
been
if they
able.
flip
I have
it?
been able to stop it most of the time. So I play Murderous Cuts. I play Instant Speed Removal. I play a lot of things to take care of it. I play Ruinous Path in the main. There's just
So do I.
It hasn't been an issue.
Yeah, I think that
It will be.
I think
The only way
here's the
that it's
thing.
not an issue is too small of a sample size.
Yeah, I understand not wanting to play like this card that like on the surface. So when the card was spoiled, I was like, I don't know why I'd ever play this over a shock ever. But like,
Well, so
in
the
testing
reason
so far,
the reason it's been so soured for me is because with my run on Black Red Dragons, Fiery Impulse you play 2 of, and
but
any
hold
more
on.
than that would feel just awful.
So you're also comparing 2 different decks, right?
Yeah, they are very different.
The reason to play Grixis is because you get cheap removal.
Yeah.
That's it. You get red removal over white and black removal.
Sure.
And so you are not utilizing what your deck is telling you that you want by not utilizing these cards.
Well, I mean, I am, right?
No, you're not.
No.
because
I
Casey,
could possibly be
hold on.
convinced. To
You're
go to
you're,
3.
you're
Hold
saying
on,
that you don't
Casey.
like it because it's bad in red black dragons, which is just like
No,
It
that's
doesn't
not
make
that's not
sense.
the only reason. So, just everything that I've been
Well,
doing has
let
been working out great.
let Casey give his
Okay, yeah,
side.
yeah.
so like
Please.
similarly in burn, like you would always play 4 lava spikes, but in control you would never play any lava spikes.
Right.
So like even though they're both cards that could play lava spike, like you can't compare the two things.
Sure.
I think that like choosing not to play your best cheap removal spell, playing any amount of like Grasp of Darknesses over your 4th Fire Impulse is just a leak. Like you're just choosing to give up percentage points.
And the reason for that is also that like even in your deck, you have 3 Kalitas. I think I saw
2 main.
2 main. That's what I have also.
Oh.
And like the reason that Kalitas is so good, and in testing, it's been Fire Impulse is the best card in your deck with Kalitas.
So I don't believe that. I believe Chandra and Radiant Flames are.
So
Like, by
it's-
miles.
over the
so
course
what you're
of 2
seeing-
turns.
What this is more results oriented.
Yeah, over the
Hold
sure
on,
over the
hold
course
on.
of 2 turns. Yes.
This is more results oriented thinking. What you're seeing is the big impacts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So with control decks, it's all about the minor edges you gain, and with impulse, you gain a minor edge that turns out to be a huge edge later in the game. Your impulses in it turn into lightning bolts that make 2/2s, and you're not seeing that.
So that I do
And
understand.
in the majority
that.
of the metagame, let's talk about the decks.
Sure.
Mono red,
Okay.
impulse is insane.
Right. Very good. Like
Right.
one
Rally,
of the best.
the
cards.
best deck in the format. It's the best card in your deck.
See, I didn't have that experience with Ratley.
It's 100%
removing one creature. I felt
kill
was
their
not
Gorn-
impactful for
Yeah.
most of the game because it number one, it's coming back either
It's not
that
coming
turn or
back.
next.
It's not coming back.
Why would it not?
because you're going to counter
Are
the
they-
rally.
are they rally?
You're going to counter their rally.
Sure. I mean, like in a perfect world, of course
You
that's
should
what
have
you're
watched the
doing.
testing video today to see how good the card is.
Okay.
It was the best card in my deck. It wasn't close. And so those 2 decks are like huge. And first of all, mono red would be a bad matchup for Esper, and because you have 1 mana removal spells, it becomes good for
I mean,
Grixis.
why? So that card against, let's say, Hordeling Outburst is like pretty terrible.
So you're doing it again.
I mean,
You are citing so
no, that's
I could-
that's
no,
what
hold on.
that deck is built off
No,
of, right?
you're wrong.
Dragon's
You are-
Daughter, Hordeling
no,
Outburst,
no,
kill you.
No.
But if you're at
You are
20
citing,
life,
I could do that with any removal spell.
No.
Name a removal spell. I'll tell you what card it's bad against.
Uh,
It's a terrible argument.
okay.
You are literally citing
Yeah.
the new player dies to Doomblade rule.
yeah, I mean, I know you guys very much think that. I
So,
think we just disagree on the card.
Hoarding
That's
Outburst
not-
is not nearly as powerful
like,
if
you learning why
Zergo
you're
and
wrong.
Monastery Swiftspear haven't already beaten you to death.
Yeah, you learning why you're wrong and like learning to improve at this point in Magic is going to be way more important to you in the long run. And like learning that the dies to Doomblade or doesn't die to Doomblade argument, like
Well, so I mean, so I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about. So ultimate price, right?
okay, so the dies to Doomblade argument is
So there's a reason we're
There's
not playing
one-
ultimate price right now.
So hold on. So back in the day, people would a great creature would get spoiled.
Sure.
And Doomblade would be a card in the format, which you haven't seen in a long time. And people were like, that card's bad, it dies to Doomblade. And they would say that all the time.
Well, that's not a real argument.
Right, but neither is your argument that it doesn't kill NFNs and seizure. I know that's not why it's in your deck.
I mean, there's a lot of things it doesn't kill. There's a lot of things that I'm worried about that.
But
like, it
you're
doesn't do
citing
anything
cards
to.
specifically that it doesn't kill.
Right,
And it
because
kills the
I'm-
majority
I'm-
of creatures in this standard format. Like, if Casey ran a spreadsheet of creatures that see play, you would see that it probably kills about 70% of those creatures. And the most important creatures, too, like Mantis Rider.
Right, which is an insane value for
Nobody
1
plays
mana.
that card.
But they don't play it because people are playing 4 bolts.
Well, so if other people are playing that card, then I don't need to.
Except for the fact that it's also good against another, like still good against 70% of the decks, and it's your best card against the best deck in the format.
Sure. I mean, I'm not arguing. Like I said, I don't want to play 4. I don't feel like that's right for my deck.
Well, there you go. Today is not the moment. But you do like Fish in Modern.
I do, yeah. So my pick for Modern is Merfolk, and my pick for Legacy is Audible Rug Delver.
Oh, you're audibling.
Yes.
All right. He wants all the stifles. Casey, you have no idea what you want to play in Standard, but you're all about Abzad Company in Modern. What's up that about?
Wait, hold on. Can we next to Casey's name, where his standard deck should be, he typed "Who knows."
I typed.
Oh, you typed that?
I typed
Oh,
that.
that's much
Yeah.
better.
I think my official answer was no clue when I typed it, but I standard. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm so unsure about the standard format. I feel like every tournament I play in, like the metagame is night and day from the last one.
I don't feel that way.
Interesting.
So like there were 2 ramp decks versus no ramp decks from the tournament before. There was still like a lot of rally decks, a lot of collected.
Were there rally decks? I didn't see. I thought there were
there
like
was
no
2 rally decks at the tournament. There was about 2 the one that I played in before that. And like in a 17-man tournament, like 2 is some number. There
Sure.
were like rando decks. There was like I think 4 or 5 rando decks at that tournament.
Yeah.
But I feel like you get I feel like that's an advantage for like playing something like Grixis Control, Jeskai Black, Teamer Black, even Abzan. I feel like you gain an advantage just by playing those kind of like, this is gonna beat you if you're doing something stupid.
I agree, and I think that I do want to play something more proactive than what I played.
You should try Teamer Black.
Maybe. It's plausible. I've played it before and I didn't like it, but I don't think I played your list. But your list, I just can't give a good answer on standard right now. In modern, I would play Abzan Company. It's a deck that I've liked before, and I think that it's very good against creature decks, even slightly unfair creature decks like Eldrazi. It's only really bad against really powerful combo decks like Splinter Twin and Amulet Bloom, or control decks, none of which are really showing up right now, so I think it's well positioned, and it's just a powerful deck. And in Legacy, I would play Rug Delver because you just can't go wrong with it.
Boo.
I don't know.
I do like the Abzan Company answer. I think that deck is like surprisingly good at modern right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you like Loxodon Smiter? Is that one of the reasons?
No,
it seems really great for a Reality Smasher, right?
it seems fine, but like, so the work that we're talking about the same deck. I think you're thinking of like a Hate Bears deck, and I'm definitely talking about the like Anafenza or Malira combo deck.
Oh.
No, I think that deck should play Smiter right now. I don't like. I think of when I think of it. I
would rather
like,
play Wilt Leaf Liege than Smiter.
I wouldn't in company. Like one of the things that I'm thinking about is like I want Noble Hierarch. I want combo. So I want like some kind of combo with either Malira or Anafenza, and I want what's the name of the card? Not so obviously Smiter, but I don't know. Night of the Reliquary is like so because you don't have time.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be involving myself in something like that.
I'm trying to remember what I was just thinking of. Anyway, I like the idea of Abzan Company. I know that there was some success at it with the Pro Tour with it.
Yeah.
As far as like Rug Delver and Legacy, like you guys do you. Like, let's go into our training rounds though. So we're gonna take our break really fast. So as we said at the beginning of this cast, this week we're gonna talk about something that is kind of hard for me. In the opposite way that it's hard for other people. And I think that everybody goes through stages of this. And we kind of talked about that on our break. But we're talking about never justifying a loss. And like all things, you shouldn't speak in absolutes. Obviously, there are times where like it's correct to just be like, I lost that, I'm going to move on. But you still shouldn't do it most of the time. So we're going to talk about that. Casey, what is the definition of the word justify?
It's basically showing or proving that it is right or reasonable. It's like, I was right to have lost that match because I drew poorly. I drew all my lands. Or my opponent drew super hot, so I should have lost.
So, to show or to prove, Manny. So how do you show something?
I mean, you try and demonstrate it, right? With either like some kind of presentation or with wording or, maybe an argument, like a convincing argument, something of that nature.
So you're trying to prove it by showing it.
Yeah.
And then
you're debating the point practically.
Casey, right or wrong, right? Like that's a pretty easy thing to differentiate between.
Yeah, I mean, it should be.
You either were right to lose to this deck or you were wrong to lose to it, right?
Yeah, I mean it's rarely as simple as that, but we all like to think it is, right?
Right. So it certainly is not right to lose. That's not your goal when you go into an event, but it can be reasonable. But it isn't necessarily beneficial to find out why it's reasonable. So, for example, you could probably find a reasonable reason for all of your losses, but that doesn't mean that you benefited from finding that reason.
That's a very good point. I mean, if you're looking for something, you're going to find it, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. So when you're listening to the remainder of this cast, you need to be brutally honest with yourself. You need to think to yourself, what am I doing wrong? Or else you're not going to improve from this cast. And you're going to think that you don't do this. And tomorrow you're not going to be a better Magic player because of it. So with me, I know what I'm doing wrong. I had each of these guys write down what they're doing wrong. Because we all do this. Every single person does this.
Yeah, nobody plays perfect Magic.
And nobody doesn't try and justify the times where they lose. It's part of human nature.
Yep.
So, I want to talk about... So, first of all, we kind of started this off with... And, Casey, how often do I think that... I think it was a PPTQ we were driving home from in the north of the valley. Was like, Casey, what could I do? What could I do? What could I do? And you were like, nothing. And I was like, no, something. And you like were getting sick of the conversation.
Yeah, I remember this happening. I don't
remember what the
event
was.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the situation was, but you were actually getting mad at me. Like, Spencer, like, just go to your next event. And I have a problem. I have a real problem, like, overanalyzing to the point where, like, oh, I should have just mulliganed this great 7.
Yeah.
I think that's actually what happened in this conversation.
Yeah.
Where I got to the point where I was like, Casey, should I mulligan that hand? And you're like, okay, this conversation is over.
Yeah, it was something insane. It was like, the nice, like, perfect mix of lands and spells. Everything was, like, into play untapped, let you, like, curve out through your first 3 turns or whatever. And, like, your best possible start against this deck.
Right.
And you were like, no, maybe I should have mulliganed for a Sarkhan. Why? Because why?
And so there are times where, like, we do things in the reverse. But, so this week, this is what happened to me. And I have many, like, there's a number of times where you hear these kind of stories. They're usually not true. But this is actually what happened to me this weekend. This weekend, I started out 3-0 at a PPTQ. Round 4, I cannot draw with my opponent because I got the pair down. So we decided to play. I already know that I'm going to concede to my opponent to lock him for top 8 because he's a friend of ours. But I still want to play out the match to kind of learn his deck. In the match, I draw a total of 1 spell. It was about 30 or 22 draw steps, I think it was. Something along those lines. I didn't keep track of the draw steps in that specific match. I drew 1 spell. It was a Rattleclaw Mystic, so all of my draws were mana sources in the entire match. I lost 2-0. I then drew my next round and then went on to top 8. Game 1 of the top 8, I do 0 spells. Actual 0. It was 11 draw steps. So I was over 30 draw steps, drawing 1 spell. Game 2 of the top 8, I drew... Did not hit my 3rd land drop until after turn 10. Had 4 lands total on the match. Or in the game. I won that game. On 4 lands. After something like 13 draw steps. Maybe a little bit more than that. Game 3, same problem. I did not draw a land until I was actually just dead on board. It was a tap land. It was a red-black dual land. My opponent then killed me with Siege Rhino. So in my games, I drew 1 spell in 3 games. And then drew 3 lands in 2 games. Combined over over 50 or 60 draw steps. And if you combine those games, it almost makes up like an average, like what you expect to draw in a game, like matches of Magic. It just so happened that they were on the extreme simple side.
Yeah, it was feast and famine, right?
Yeah. So when we're talking about like never justifying a loss, there is things that I did wrong in those matches. I actually played incorrectly and made misplays because I was so frustrated. I like played a Den Protector face up that even though I would have never flipped that Den Protector because I actually never hit a 5th land drop in those 2 games, I still should have played that Den Protector face down instead of what I did. And I did that out of frustration. So while I couldn't have won those games, I justified my losses probably correctly. But how do I learn from this, Casey? How do I implement the idea of justifying your losses is wrong when I was actually helpless.
Well, so
Also, this was not in the show notes before this weekend.
right.
I
So,
feel like it was the magic gods that were like, "Hey,
talk about this. So this kind of goes back to something we talked about last week, where playing tight even when the game is hopeless, right? Even when you're no percent to win, making the play that maximizes your glimmer of hope, right? Where if you're not doing that, you're never going to get those percentage points back. If you can make a play that takes you from a 0% to a 0.5%, you need to take it. Because otherwise, there's no way to get it back, right? So even though the 0.5% chance still doesn't result in you winning the game almost ever.
yeah, there was actually not a way that I could have won that match, right?" I think what's important here is exactly what you're saying. So, Manny, why is it important to play correctly 100% of the time?
You always want to play to your outs, right? So you sit down to every game of Magic, with the goal of winning. And in order to reach that goal of winning, you have to do everything you can, make a point here, take a point there, that will get you to that point. And if, you knock on wood, you just start hitting gas, right? Spell after spell. You want to be in a position that you've set yourself up in that you can win from.
Which is funny because once I hit those 2 lands, I only needed 4 lands to operate. And my second and my third and fourth land came to play tap. I still won game 2. And I did game 2 correctly. I played it correctly, and I won the game because I played it correctly. I mean, when you don't hit your third lawn drop until turn 10 or 11, you don't expect to win any games, right?
Not typically, no.
Yeah, almost never.
And I got rewarded for doing what Casey's talking about, where I played right. Game 3, I played awful.
That actually, so Casey and I played a match. We were matched up round 1, and I actually lost. Was it game 2?
No, it was game 1.
It was game 1.
And neither of us made our third land drop until turn 6.
You made it, and then
I
followed 2 turns later.
I thought you made it first, and then I hit like 6 before you hit 4.
That's what it was. I stalled after that one.
We
Yep.
both stalled on 2, then you hit 3, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm dead." And then you just never hit 4, and then
Right.
I just kept drawing them and casting spells.
Playing Black Red Dragons. It's not not where you want to be.
Yeah,
Thopter Engineer, go.
and it was that was an ugly game, but I think that
Well, so I didn't play correctly, right? I could have killed your Chandra had I played, optimizing everything I could have done. And not to say that I could have won, but it definitely would have been a different game.
right.
But it's better, right? It's always better to
Right.
do. I mean,
So-
the word "better" is better.
relative.
But
but
no, it's in the way that I'm talking about. It's not right. It's always better to be better than worse.
So
Sure.
you're referring to it like as an absolute, where 2 is a larger number than 1.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like in game 2, I played well. I got rewarded, and I won after my flood, quote unquote, ended. Right, or
Right.
my screw, I guess. And
I'd call it like maybe like a biblical type flood, like.
well, no, it was
Like a Noah's Ark type
I
story?
I got mana hosed, I guess is the term that they used. That's not the bad one.
Oh right,
Drought. Yeah, mana drought. I got mana droughted. That's great. I don't think I've ever heard that, Manny.
I've heard mana starve. I've never heard mana drought.
You should
There you
coin
go.
that.
It's
That's you. That's
copyrighted.
Manny.
That's
yeah.
me. That's Rain Manny. You weren't there for that, were
No,
you?
that's amazing.
We'll tell you some stories about the event later, guys.
But what I want to talk about is I can still learn, even though I should just say, Spencer, you could not have won these matches. Instead, I choose to learn from them. And that's what we mean by never justify. Because sometimes you're going to lose and you need to get over it. But you still should learn from those losses. And that's what we're gonna. That's what we're gonna get into.
Well, and there's always something to be learned, right? If you start out with one mana in your hand, and you then have a
should have
drought,
mulliganed.
then you drought. You should have mulliganed.
Yeah.
You can't blame your deck for not drawing
Hey, Manny,
appropriately.
Manny, why don't we get into the next segment before you ruin everything?
Oh sure.
Okay. So I wrote down a couple of things, and these guys are welcome to. If they think of anything, just add them on in the end. Reasons for losing and their common counterparts. Mana screwed. Did you keep a low land hand? Do you have the correct number of lands in your deck? Right? These are easy things that could be contributing to the fact that you got mana hosed.
Mana drought.
Mana drought.
Yeah.
Mana flooded. Did you keep too many lands? Do you have the correct number of lands in your deck? It's the same principle. What did you do wrong here? Did you have a deck that did something wrong? There's a Magic player who believes that you're supposed to play 15 lands in every deck no matter what in Utah.
How many did you say?
15.
1-5?
1-5. He always complains about getting flooded or screwed and how his math is correct and everybody else's is wrong. This is somebody who's never going to be improving.
This is someone whose win percentage is under 30%, I'm sure.
He plays with very, very good players. Like, the first time I ever drafted with Pro Tour caliber players was with him.
Interesting.
I don't know how it happens. But I do want to say that, like, those two things are oftentimes, Casey and I specifically have found this, are contributed to things in your deck. The same thing is true to color host. What did you use? Color droughted?
Flooded? Wait.
That one sounds weird. Color drought sounds weird. I think it's color. It's screwed. It's color screwed. That's what it is.
Can't
reinvent the wheel.
Do you have the correct compositions of lands in your deck? There are things that you can be thinking about in all of these situations. Think about them correctly. Be honest with yourself. Because if you're not honest with yourself, you're not improving and your deck's not getting better. You're not getting better. And you're not practicing critical thinking. And practicing critical thinking is what's going to make you better at Magic. Anything you guys want to add to the reason? Like, those are the most common reasons, right? Those are the times where, like, you didn't hit your land drop on time, so I lost. My life sucks.
Well, and Casey spoke about it last week, but like deck selection, right? If your lands are not going to support the cards that you're playing, that's very much your fault. No one is forcing you to play anything, to choose anything, to do anything that that is not good for you.
Yeah.
Yep. Or just kind of greediness too, right? Like, so like say I mulligan to 6 and my 6 is 3 lands and 3 spells. But like I really need to hit my 4th land drop in order for this hand to be functional, and I scry and it's a land. That's a tough call, right? Because I don't want to get flooded. I need to draw like another spell here in these first couple turns too. But like if this hand isn't really functional without that 4th land, and I scry it to the bottom and I don't ever hit the 4th land and I lose, that's a decision I made. You can try to decide if it was the correct decision or not, but you have to take responsibility for the decision. You made the decision to not hit your 4th land drop. Was that the right decision? And these are the kind of things you need to think about. And it can be something as small as that scry before the game even started that caused you to lose this game or win this game. And you need to be really honest with yourself about, did you make the right decision? If you make the right decision and get punished, that's going to happen. They're percentage points. They're not black and white.
Right. A lot of people like to cite variance, right? Like our game is full of variance, but a lot of people like to cite it as to why they may not be doing well. And what I usually counter with is think about like players who are truly great, right? Like LSV, Reed Duke. These are guys who play they play for a living. This is what they do. And
I don't know that LSV does.
Oh, does he? Oh,
Well,
he
not
writes.
anymore. He has. He works for a game design company.
They're all Magic involved, right?
Well, I think that your point is great, right? Like,
So
think of like the times where, I mean, Owen Turnwald is a great example. He actually just plays Magic for a living.
right.
But I think you're right. Like,
They
when was the time you saw an Owen Turnwald tweet that was like, "I got unlucky"?
never.
I actually
I
don't
have
think I've
never-
ever seen one.
No.
How different is that from other Magic players you've seen?
Oh, it's night and day.
Right.
And
He's literally the number one ranked player in the world. I have never seen him blame variance for any match on Twitter. I'm actually scouring my brain because it's this awesome computer that has this information. I don't actually think I've ever seen him do it.
So, do you remember back at the SCG Vegas where you got married?
Oh my gosh!
When he played, let me do it. So, he plays against Michael Jenkins, one of our friends and local players. They're playing the mono black mirror, and Jenkins decides to thought seize Owen when Owen has 0 cards in hand. He just doesn't think to check, is under the impression he has 1 more card, whatever. He decides to thought seize him when Owen has 0 cards, and Owen says, okay, that resolves. And then kind of does jazz hands, like, I got nothing. And then we asked him about it after the match, because he and Reed were playing, just tune-up matches or whatever. After he loses the match to Michael, who, clearly they were playing a mirror match. Michael is not as good of a player as Owen. Variance was obviously involved. There were decisions obviously to be made, but variance was a factor in that outcome. And he said
the decision to thought seize him with 0 cards in hand. Obviously,
right, which
decisions were being made.
Right, which is just bad, right? They just 0 advantages
Also,
to that.
shout out to Michael Jenkins.
Yeah. Yeah, beating Owen is like it's a pretty big deal, right?
It's a
Not
huge
a lot
deal,
of people do
and
it. Anyway,
we all
yeah.
have made huge.
Hashtag spoiler alert.
Yeah, hang on. So
we've all made mistakes like that
hold
too.
on,
hold on.
Okay.
So we talked to Owen after the match, and the only thing that he has to say about it is when we asked him like, oh, how did it feel getting Thoughtseized with 0 cards in hand? And he's like, oh, that was a peculiar line. Like he wouldn't say like, oh, I can't believe I lost to somebody that bad. He was just like, that's not the way I would have done it.
Which is funny because like people give such a bad rap to Owen. Like they're like, oh, Owen's like a jerk. Owen's this. Owen's that. And it's like the guy literally got Thoughtseize with 0 cards in hand. His opponent literally paid 1 to lose 2 life and discard a card. And Owen was like, that was a peculiar line. And like Casey and I can't help but laugh. And he's like sitting. He was actually sitting against Tom Martell, by the way. And it was like, huh. And I think you and I actually like took away from that something. That like first of all, it was really funny. That's the word choice he used. But second of all, like he didn't actually say anything bad about that person.
Right. Or
he didn't choose to believe that he lost to a worse player. He was like, oh, that player that was peculiar.
He did something that I wouldn't have done. And but he didn't criticize it, right? He just thought, that's a weird way to handle your business in that situation.
It's like playing two bolts instead of 4 bolts. Like that's a peculiar choice. You know what you're gonna do, Manny.
Thank you.
And then but he didn't let it affect him. He didn't go on tilt, and I think Owen actually ended up winning that open.
He actually did win that open.
He didn't lose another.
That was
match
actually
for
his
the rest of
only
the day.
loss.
Yeah,
go Michael Jenkins.
And
that's like not something a lot of people can say. That's cool.
You remember that one time Owen Dirtwald won an open? Yeah, I beat him, and I Thoughtseized him when I had 0 cards when he had 0 cards in hand.
Yeah,
and I think that like that's so much. So as we can see from the things that I cited, there's an easy solution to all the problems in front of you. You could cause yourself to like lose. You could justify your loss in any actual way. Like there's always something that like you could blame for something, but that's not always productive.
My opponent was playing such a stupid deck. I can't believe I lost to that.
Yeah, one time we won't name the players, but Casey was playing Bant Control. It was the Thragtusk Sterilization deck. He's playing it at like some local tournament, and his opponent loses to him, and then says, "Man, I hate playing against Brews." This deck was literally the best deck in the format at the time.
Yeah, the best and most popular. Like everybody said, it was the best deck.
Yeah, Reed Duke coined the deck. It was the best deck at the time, and his opponent, like, who wasn't paying attention to the results, like, thought because he had never seen the deck, it was a brew, and he had every reason to justify the loss. When in fact, if he had just ever looked at an SCG result, he realized it was the best deck in the format and would have known how to play against it and built his deck correctly. This is just something that happened to Casey. This isn't something random. This isn't something that was out of his opponent's control. His opponent just decided not to do his homework, didn't know how to prepare against the deck, and lost because of it, and just blamed it on a brew. Because he called it a brew because he hadn't seen it before. It wasn't actually a brew. It was just something that everybody was doing that he wasn't prepared for. This happens a lot. This isn't just Casey or Joe Schmo. This is something that we do a lot. Oftentimes, a deck will appear on Moto. A deck will be very good on Moto. And we'll lose to it, and we'll be like, that deck was bad. The deck 2 weeks later will be in the top 5 decks in the format. It will appear on our power rankings. Whose fault is that? Whose fault is it that we didn't know that deck won a PPTQ on Moto or a PTQ on Moto? Is it my fault?
Yeah, it's obviously our fault if we don't know that, right? The information is available.
It's on multiple websites. Why didn't I know that information?
Yeah. And, like, for example, I lost to Justin Sloan at this tournament on Saturday. I knew what deck he was playing.
He told you.
He didn't tell me. Somebody else told me. I looked at the deck list, said, I don't know about this. I don't really want to play test this. Like, I don't know that there's much advantage to it. I don't think he might be, if he plays it, he'll be the only one, and it's kind of a weird deck. I don't think it's very good. And, I didn't do enough homework on the deck, and I got my reality smashed by it. Just got turned inside out by this deck. Because I didn't expect him to have certain cards.
Did you say you got
his reality smashed?
Okay.
Yeah, that was good.
It wasn't good. You're giving him too much credit.
That was great.
All right. LSV's all over.
But like, and if I would have, it was Wasteland Strangler that did me in, and I just didn't expect him to have it. It seemed like a weird card for him to have, especially post board. And I left myself very dead to it.
That 1/1 Death Touch was like actually insane against me, by the way.
Fathom Feeder?
I actually only drew one spell, but it was still great.
Yeah. Luckily, I killed the Fathom Feeder. It would have been great against me, too, but I was able to Fiery Impulse it.
Lucky for you.
Wow, that card seems so good.
Yeah. But I chose not to be aware of the deck, and I lost to it because of it. Right? You can say, oh, he was playing this weird deck. I didn't know what he had, but it was my fault. I'm the reason I didn't know that. I knew that the deck had 4-0'd a couple of dailies. I knew that he was playing it. I knew he would be at the tournament. I knew that he was going to be, 4% of my metagame was going to be on the deck. I had no reason not to know it.
Yeah, I think that often we see a player who justifies not winning an event for just basically arbitrary reasons. They convince themselves that their failure was actually a success. So the things that I've listed is they top 8'd. They achieved something, so they're not winning the event. Oh well, I top 8'd the event. I did this a lot at the beginning of my Magic career. Top 8'ing my second PTQ, and top 8'ing 3 more PTQs, and having an 80% win percentage in Modern, or whatever the format was then. Just having a very high win percentage, basically top 16 every PTQ I played in. I convinced myself that was good enough, that it was all variance that was keeping me from going to the Pro Tour. Losing in the finals of the Pro Tour, that was variance. Daniel Gardner drafted a weird deck, and I wasn't prepared for it. That's not my fault. If I had just done more playtesting, which doesn't really seem possible because I had playtested that format a ton, but I didn't come to the conclusion that Daniel came to, which leads you to believe, what did I miss?
Or maybe it was just something simple like playing with different people, right? If you play with all the same people and you all have certain strategies you like, you may not ever realize that there's a very viable archetype in the draft.
Yeah, exactly. So top 8'ing, winning records,
I open valuable cards in my prize packs.
Yeah.
That's one I've heard so many times.
What? That's crazy.
Yep. People validate even opening valuable cards in their seal pool. My only loss was to a friend. How many times have we heard that? And then the biggest one, the one that doesn't make sense to me, I don't really care anyway.
But yeah, why would you be there in the first place if you didn't care?
I have heard that first of all, I've heard it from myself. I've said that.
You have said that. Yeah.
Casey has said that.
Yeah, and
Matt has said that. What in the world were we doing at the event if we didn't want to win it?
Right, and it does happen, and sometimes it is true. That is the reason that you lost, right? Is because you didn't care.
But why? Why was that? You validated your loss because you didn't care?
Right, but it's the so not caring isn't the validation for the loss. A lot of times it's the reason for the loss, right? If you don't care, you don't play well.
That's bullcrap. I just disagree.
You think that not caring doesn't result in you losing?
100% it resulted in your losing, but I don't think you showed up to the event not caring. I think you not cared once you gave up on the event. I think this happens all the time. This has happened with me, and I 100% believe it's happened with you as well.
Oh, yeah, certainly.
So there was a time, and do you care if I tell this story about the night after Devonaire's birthday, I think it was?
I don't think I care. I don't think I remember it.
Okay, if I tell it, you can help me edit it out. It's fine.
Oh, was it the sealed tournament that Matt won? Okay.
So Casey is inebriated him in our car, and he is stoked for an event. Casey crushes the Swiss of the event. He gets to the top 8, and he suddenly doesn't care anymore. He then loses in the quarterfinals. But the night before, Casey literally is tweeting how much he's going to win this event.
I remember that now.
How in the world did you go from I'm going to win this event to I don't care about it?
So that one is kind of a weird and bad example because I was trying to convince myself that I cared about it. That was the last Magic tournament I played in for months and months.
Oh, that's right.
Right, but you literally did you were getting on pace for your goal and suddenly didn't care. And I don't know your life. I'm not going to pretend to know your life. I know that for me, I've done this multiple times. I'm going to win this event. I'm in top 8. Suddenly, that's enough for me. That happens to me all the time. I don't know that that's what happened to you, but from an outsider perspective, from even listeners emailing in, that's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly can happen.
Casey is tweeting he's going to win this event. Now he's quitting Magic. What's happening? And I'm like, I don't have an answer for you, listeners. And we all do this.
Yeah.
It's everybody. It's not Casey. It's not me. It's not Manny. It's not Matt. It's not Quentin. It's everybody. At some point, we convince ourselves that we don't care. Part of that is maybe we don't care.
Yeah.
Maybe we wanted something that maybe we thought we wanted something that we didn't want. But a lot of the time, it's actually the opposite. It's we want something so much, we want to convince ourselves we don't care because we don't want to accept the fact that we might fail.
Yeah.
This happens to me all the time. I think that we can all agree that it happens to all of us.
Oh yeah, that's certainly happened to me.
I don't know that that's the time
that was
it happened
not
to
the
you.
time it happened to me, but it has happened to me.
Yeah.
It's happened to me plenty.
Yeah. where you are. And the reason that I said that event is we actually got emails about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll give you an example. It happened the last PTQ ever that happened to me in the top 8. I
think that everybody has that experience in their first PTQ top 8, by the way. I don't think you're a singular person. Like, you go into the dreams of going to the Pro Tour, but, like, you get these big guys, you're like, I did it. I top 8'd a PTQ.
Right.
And then, like, you can say you did that.
But it didn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Like, in hindsight, it doesn't matter. But at the time, it means a lot. Your friends are top 8ing PTQs.
Right.
Like, the people you respect, they're top 8ing PTQs. Like, for you, you would watch Matt lose in a finals. Like, actually watched it. You had seen me and Quentin top 8 PTQs.
Yeah.
And, like, of your best friends, you were the only one that hadn't. So, in your head, and I think that you'll agree with this, that didn't matter to you. But once it happened to you, it felt like this, like, huge weight was lifted off your shoulders.
Yeah.
And you didn't care about winning the event all of a sudden.
So it was a weird feeling because I did care, but I felt like I couldn't lose. I felt like invincible going into this round. I felt like I built my deck specifically to beat this matchup, and then as soon as he played, like, because I was playing Naya and my opponent was playing red white, and that was just a great matchup for me. Although he built his deck very differently than most of the other red white decks, and as soon as first card I saw, completely made me give up on the tournament.
Well, I think that, like, this was a huge justification for you, right?
Yeah.
You, like, left that tournament like, oh, like, he built his deck bad. Like, how could I ever beat him building his deck bad? And you're not the only one that said that. Multiple people lost to him that were like...
Yeah.
But, like, you still lost.
Yeah, I did. And, like, I'm saying, like, when he played a Titan Strength, which, like, nobody was playing in that deck, I was like, well, whatever. Like, if he's going to be a big weirdo, like, I guess I'm going to lose. And I gave up on the tournament because one thing didn't go my way.
Yeah, and I think we all do that. And like I said, it's so easy to, like, hold on. So I do actually have a thought on this, but you literally Googled something to talk about.
Oh, I was just being a goofball. But I Googled the Kyle Reese quote from Terminator 1. It's where Kyle Reese is talking to Sarah Connor. He says, listen and understand. The Terminator is out there. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear, and it absolutely will not stop ever until you are dead.
Why did you Google that?
That's, like, absolutely the mentality you should have every single time you sit down to play competitive Magic.
And we will get into... We're going to come back to this, because it is part of this training rounds.
So you're saying that you should be the Terminator, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
1,000%.
And I think
don't even think about that. Oh, did he play Titan Strength? I don't know what to do. This, that, or the other. Just get him. Just don't stop. Like... Punch through windshields, like walk through walls, just get them.
We're going to talk about this because I think that this is a mindset that is... We're going to talk about happy mediums at the end of this podcast. But I want to talk about the things that we talked about. Top 8, winning record, only loss was to a friend. I didn't really care. Some of the things are actually a success. But if your goal was to win, you still didn't actually achieve it, right?
Right.
Even though you did top 8, you did have a winning record. The only person you lost to is the person who... Let's say it's not a friend. How many times have you said, well, I didn't win the event, but the only person I lost to was the person who won, so that's a success? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's like somebody, like, moved themselves from top 8 to second place, right? That's what they're doing.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, and I have said it.
Also, being an insanely competitive individual, I hate losing to friends more than I'd hate losing to any random person in the world.
Hey, Manny, remember that time that you haven't beaten me?
Yeah, I'm gonna get you. I'm like dying every time, like, they call out results. I'm like, oh, god damn it, give me Spencer, give him to me. I'm just waiting for it.
So, even though some of these things are considered a success, and even in your heart you consider them a success, at some point, like, how do you move forward from that? How do you move forward from, like, for me, like, I'll just use me as an example. My last 5 PPDQs. I think I'm actually missing some in here, but I think that they were all top 16, so it doesn't really matter. I have a first, a season where I played 3, where I think I top 16 all of them and top 8 1. A first, a second, a 10th, and a second. So in my last, what is that? 7 PPDQs. I have mono first, seconds, and top 16s.
Sure.
So obviously that's a success, right? I'm doing well at PPDQs. But at the same time, like, am I getting better from that? Am I achieving my goals by looking at my events that way. Do my results matter if I'm not winning? What am I doing, and do I need to put the things that are happening aside and just focusing on, like, what am I doing wrong? And there's reasons why we do this. First of all, it makes us feel more successful. We feel like the things that we're doing, the things that we're achieving are actual achievements rather than achieving our goals. Our goal was to win the event, but we top 8'd. We took second. We top 4'd. We made money from the event. It was a positive experience for us. We feel embarrassed that we didn't win, but we won more than another person, and we won as much as we wanted to. We failed. It's pretty simple that nobody wants to fail, right? Casey, do you want to fail?
Never.
Manny, do you want to lose?
Not once.
But the reason that we validate those things, the reason that we validate that second place, we didn't achieve our goal, and that sucks. It feels bad. So instead of saying, like, I suck, I feel bad, we say, I took second. That's pretty cool. I made money. Whatever. Also, the biggest reason, and the reason that Magic players do it the most, is they love bad beat stories.
Oh, they love them. Some people love them more than winning.
Talking about my losses is probably like the thing I hate the most. Like, and it's not a bad thing, but like teammates will ask me like why I lost, and it could be, a very good training tool, but Lord, I hate talking about it right then and there. Like I just like to shut it down with I lost.
So Manny,
yes.
The next one we're going to talk about is your Terminator quote.
Oh, okay.
And This is what I wrote down. This is the part of the show that actually made the show before this weekend's event. So for those who don't know, I wrote show notes on Thursdays. Sometimes they get updated on Friday, but they're usually done before Saturday. This is one of the shows that was done before Saturday. And this is something that was in the show notes before my event. And it says, in the end, don't overdo it. Sometimes you just can't win, and you shouldn't stress too much about it. But don't let that be your default. Manny, you want to be the Terminator, right?
Yes.
You want to win no matter what.
Got to get him.
Sometimes you're not going to win.
That's true.
That's okay.
It happens.
It does. But don't let the fact that you're not always going to win make you feel like every event is the event you're not going to win.
Right.
That's not fair to you, Casey, right? If you're going to be the best player you can be, Casey, is every event the event you're not going to win? Or is you're going to win one of them?
Right, you have to, right? Like, you have to treat every event like it's your chance. That's your ticket to the big time. If you are playing like you know you're going to lose, then you are.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not fair to yourself if you're saying, I got motoed, I got mana screwed, I got mana flooded, I got color screwed. Every time you play, like, be real with yourself. It's not your deck. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not bad
it
luck.
could be the deck.
It could be the deck, but it's your fault if it is.
Right.
And the thing is like,
take responsibility.
Yeah, take responsibility for the choices that you made before the match, after the match, during the match. Don't let it be the fact that you got mana screwed is the reason you lost.
Mm-hmm.
Think about your mulligans. Think about your deck building decisions.
Hold yourself accountable to everything that you can be accountable for.
Right. Make meaningful thoughts about your deck choice and about your land choice and about everything that you can before you attribute to the fact that this wasn't the event you were going to win. And I think that I've come to the facts that I was not going to win the PPTQ this weekend. It wasn't my day. Like, I misplayed a couple times in the top 8. But even without those misplays, I was not going to win that match. Is it suck that that's true? Yeah, it does suck.
It feels bad. You want to have some control over your game.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Casey said downstairs is, I want to feel like I have control. And I did. I had control over those misplays that I made. And I'm going to learn from those misplays, and that's what I'll focus on. But don't pretend, and don't walk yourself into or talk yourself into, I got mana screwed. I got mana flooded. This X, Y, and Z happened. It's not helpful to you. So.
Yeah. So for me personally, right? Like, I used to justify my losses with a winning record or, top 8ing. Those things would make my day sometimes. Now that, I hang out with the team, I'm trying to get, so much better, and I hold myself more accountable. And how I do that, every tournament is different. So something I try to strive for every time I play is to use how I perform at a tournament as an indicator for performance, right? Like achievements that I unlock like in a video game, right? So as long as I
Hashtag Xbox goals.
right? I mean, I know if my record is, let's say I end a tournament with 5-2, I know that I didn't win, obviously, right? I know there's things I need to do. Just things I need to figure out why I lost those matches. I need to fix those things. Those are things that need to be fixed before I can crush every tournament all the time. My new goals every time I go to a tournament now are play tight, stay focused, win every game. And
I actually like really appreciate that the thing that I said on the last cast, where I talked about
directly.
No, it's important, right? Because like
Yeah.
I learned that from a better Magic player, right? Like
Yeah.
I didn't. It's weird because it's like you would think that that's something that you think of all the time, right?
You would think so, yeah.
But no, you don't. You don't think of Magic that way.
I-
You think of winning the event. You think of top hitting. You think
Right.
of like these big grandeur things. When if you just win your next game, everything kind of just falls into place anyway.
And it especially helped me psychologically being down game one. Doesn't matter. I just got to win my next one and I'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, just win your next one is like it's just a mindset that like breeds success. And you would think that it would be so easy to like switch that switch in your brain, but like
You have to like really like concentrate and focus on.
you really
those
do.
things.
And like I think that I'm really proud of you for like taking this lesson that I learned like a year and a half ago and applying it to yourself.
yeah, I mean, it's,
And like directly listening to a player that you consider better than you.
Yeah.
Because that's what I did. I listened to Alex Sinner, who I think is a better Magic player than than I am, and it had a positive impact on my Magic career, and I hope that this continues for you and does the same thing.
yeah, I'm gonna keep on making every little adjustment where I can, when I can, and listen to all of the players on our team. Right, like a lot of them have done better than me because they are better than me.
I think that there was a huge growing moment for you last week when you said, Spencer, I think I'm the worst player on the team.
Yeah,
And I don't think you felt that way coming in.
no,
And I
No.
think that like openly, and like we said this at the beginning of this segment, is that just be honest with yourself. Like if you're not going to improve because
Yeah.
where do you have to improve from if you think that you're
So yeah, I mean,
this great player of
viewing myself as equals to other members of the team was wrong because it closed me off to learning and to observing things and to getting better. If I even not even maintain that I was better but just as good as everybody else, then why would I listen to them? Just like you said, there'd be no value in it.
Yeah, and this happens in multiple levels. For example, I'm really bad at playing decks like Rally the Ancestors, but I would listen to Michael Hinderocker and Matt Kling talk about those decks all the time. They're way better at that kind of thinking than I am.
Sure.
So, anyway, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
For me, I kind of have the reverse problem. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but I too often will care about the game that didn't matter. I'll blame myself again and again and again and try and find the reason that I lost. However, even though I have this very extreme fault that Manny believes is correct, which is weird.
I think that mentality that you have that's like you're too hard on yourself, I believe that breeds success.
It does, but I do have a fault still.
I mean,
And one of the faults that I have is that I oftentimes blame my tilt. And I don't actually know that the tilt even exists sometimes. Sometimes I think I make up my tilt. I will make up, I'm tilted, I lost. Even though, I wasn't tilted.
until you lost.
Yeah.
You went back in time to the beginning of the match and got tilted because you didn't know it was going to go.
Kind of exactly like that. Right what Casey said. And I don't know how to kind of overcome that. But it's definitely like that moment where I will justify my losses like I was upset. So at a Sunday Super Series, I was in top 4. And my opponent in the top 4 of a draft match, it was Gatecrash Draft, went Burning Tree, Burning Tree, Burning Tree, Burning Tree.
You can't beat that.
And I was like, now I'm tilted, I'm going to lose. And after the match, Travis Warlacker and Alex Sinner actually told me how I could have beaten the draw.
Shut up.
Yeah. And it was I just had 2 threes on my hand. I don't know, I just got tilted and made bad plays. And I do get tilted. Oftentimes it's from misinformation. Matt Kling saying your opponent's on blue white, and then him lightning helixing my Cobra. I actually did.
He's been on tilt for 4 years because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll never forgive him.
I actually will never forgive Matt Kling for that. But at the same time, Why did that affect me so negatively? Why did that impact my next 2 matches of Magic? Or game, sorry. It shouldn't have. And I, as a person, I don't feel like I go to social media about this a lot, which is kind of like where you see tilt.
A lot of the
very
time,
much.
yeah.
And I don't do that because, first of all, I have a podcast to be irresponsible of me. Like, can you imagine my followers just like
Bad beats.
plummeting? So I don't do that. But I do talk to my friends about it. And this week was really hard for me because it's like, this is comical. This what happened to me on Saturday was literally comical.
Oh, I've got some comical stories for you too.
And it's like, how do I express this without people thinking he's exaggerating? Because so many people exaggerate their bad beat stories.
Yeah, they do.
So how do I address this? Because like one of the biggest ways to get over grief is like talking about it. But how can I possibly talk about like this very unlikely thing that happened to me without people like stop complaining?
I mean, I'm very much of the opinion that you just bottle that up and you bury it deep inside you and you let it fester until you're a
You
mean
let that
person.
turn into stomach cancer.
Yeah. You swallow that and you don't tell anybody that ever again. That's what I would do.
I think for me, the thing that I learned to do is I need to be less hard on myself, but also like be realistic about like how upset I actually am about a match. Because like sometimes I'll fake being upset, which is funny because like you guys say I always look upset.
I mean,
it's not true. You guys are exaggerating. I don't actually always look upset about Magic. Do I?
So-
you look like a Tolkien like dwarf. You just look so surly after a match.
So I don't think that's necessarily true anymore. But when I said that, I think it was true. You just always looked miserable.
I don't think that's true. I can't possibly like always look like I lost.
I mean, I've seen you after some pretty like when you've gotten some pretty bad beats in. Like you were playing Josh, the little kid, and you didn't get to play. You played like one single card.
Oh my god!
In your match, in your entire match with him, you played one
and
card.
he was
a little kid. He was obnoxious.
Oh my
That's what they
gosh.
do.
It was so painful.
You were mad for like seriously 5 days.
It was because the way he acted.
He's like 11. He was.
I
like
know,
11.
but like, it's like, yeah, I think this is a great matchup for me. And I'm like, I mean, everything's a great matchup for you when your opponent doesn't play spells.
Yeah, kids. I mean, have you ever played a video game on the internet?
Why did you bring that up?
Because it happened.
But like, I don't always look like that.
No, but that's what I think of when I think of that.
But when you think, so
Just
when
like-
you
like-
see me,
like
hold on.
Gimli.
So this actually happened this week. So Matt Kling is like, so I actually won my third round, right? And I'm talking about how bad the wrap matchup is for me. And we're going to round 4, and he like looks at the pairings, and Matt Kling says to me, he says, "Oh, you won round 3? I just assumed from your face that you lost," and then walked away. Do I actually look that bad?
I also thought that you lost in that round.
There you go. There you
what do
have
you
it.
want from
There
me?
you have it.
I actually didn't know until just now that you won that match, I think.
Oh. So,
Um,
No, let's go into Casey's. We're doing this too long.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what I need to do. I feel like it's actually like a fault of mine that I like look miserable during Magic. I actually think that like because your facial expressions are like a direct. I think it is the same problem, right? It's this problem of like I'm too overly critical of myself,
right, and that makes you miserable.
and it does. It makes me miserable. But I love
Recipe
Magic
for
so
despair.
Right.
much. But Casey, you have an interesting one. Why don't you talk about why do you justify losses?
So the biggest way that I justify losses is if I feel like if I decide at some point in the tournament that I played the wrong deck, or that I misbuilt my deck, or I had some kind of deck building leak, that it really affects my play. So like, oh, I can never win this tournament. I'm playing a bad deck. How could I ever win?
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen it in action. Just like halfway through, you'll be like
He'll literally be 2-0.
Yeah, 3-0, and then you'll lose one, and you'll be like, I can't take it down. This is impossible.
This deck's not playable. And like, rarely is the deck actually unplayable, but it does really affect my play. When I think the deck isn't good enough for me to win, it does really affect my play, like a lot. And I it's an excuse. And like, if I'm not maximizing the games that I could win, even if the deck is bad, like you can play a bad deck and still beat people. You just have to play even better. And when you're not doing that, you just can't win. And I really let that hang me up, and I end up misplaying because I've already decided that I'm going to lose.
Sure. So one thing that I had everybody write down, and I'm just going to kind of read what you guys wrote. So for me, I need to be less critical of myself. How do I combat the problem that I have? I need to be less critical of myself and also not fake it. I kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. If I'm not actually upset about the match, I need to not let the match upset me. That's not fair to me. Manny says, my old goal was to top 8, and my new goal is to play tight. I need to stay focused and win every game until I take first. Casey says, to combat it, I need to not put myself in that position anymore. Casey, how do you do that? How do you, so I'm currently 3-0 at the tournament. I walk outside with Manny and Austin, and Manny says, how you doing? I said, I'm 3-0, but I missed my deck. And I told Manny, I said that I should have played a third Murderous Cut or third Greatest Clause. Right? That's what I told you?
Yeah, I believe so.
And we kind of didn't discuss it more. But I feel like with you, Casey, you would discuss that for 10 minutes. Why is that such a big deal to you?
Because do
you feel like it's egregious?
Yeah, because it's just, it was so easy not to do it. Right? It was...
You didn't have to play Gather the Courage in all those tournaments, Casey.
Oh, I did. No, that was not an example of this. That was good deck building. But but as an example, there was a time where I only played 2 Gather Courage. And that was wrong. I should have played the 4.
I can't believe I brought this up.
And I let it affect me. And there was a time where I played Mardu Dragons, and I thought
that was bad. And that was a bad decision.
Bad.
That's just as bad as playing Red Black Dragons. I agree.
But
you'll never win a tournament doing that. But man, can you win some games?
Yeah, but I let it affect
love you,
me.
Manny.
I let it cause me to lose more matches than I should have. I still could have top 8'd that tournament, and then maybe 3 opponents get mana screwed in a row.
I think that when I think of that Mardu Dragons tournament,
debacle.
I think that your first loss, you were furious.
Yeah.
I remember, Casey, oh my god, this deck is so bad. I can't believe I play this. And, when you have this mindset of, I think that this is not a problem just with Casey. I think that it's great that you identified your biggest weakness. Because I think that you do this a lot. But I don't know that it's just you. I think that we all have that problem where, oh my gosh, I picked this deck. This deck is terrible. And it's for me, it's even happened after wins. Or win a match, I'm holy crap, my deck is so bad. It happens a lot in sealed. I actually think that's the reason that sealed tournaments are not popular. It's because people just convince themselves their decks are bad.
Yeah. Well, it actually did happen to me. After round 1, we already talked about it, I beat Manny in round 1 of that tournament, and I was like, oh my goodness, this deck is bad. I really, if he had been applying more, if he'd had a better job that applied more pressure, I could have never won any of these games. I just don't have a way to recover from, early falling behind early. I just can't play against any aggressive decks or I'll lose. And then I played against 2 aggro decks and I lost because I knew it was going to happen.
But could you have done something to prevent that?
Yeah, realize that...
Just not in that mindset?
Right, realize that, okay, maybe I'm going to play against aggro decks, but I have plenty of removal. I can live. I just need to adjust the game plan, right? If I know that it's going to be really hard for me to play from behind, I can't play the way that I normally would play a control deck, which is to let myself fall behind and then stabilize and then have a lot left over. I have to realize that I have to proactively stay ahead. Just make decisions like that will result in you winning games instead of pre-gretting something that hasn't happened yet.
Sure. So, what do we learn from all this? First of all, we learned sometimes it's just not your fault. You should never justify your losses, but if you can't actually find a reason, don't dwell on it, and like Manny said, move on to your next game. The other thing we learned is there's usually something you could do.
Almost always. So
don't let the thing that you're not doing be the reason you're losing, because that is in your control. Let us know if you have any questions, and we'd be happy to talk about them. And that's training on this week. Let's talk about the clan. So you can message me at Spencer13H or Dev on MTGO, or you can message Quentin at
Earthstripe. URTHSTRYPE.
And you can message either of us. We're online. We can add you to the clan. Don't forget to check out our sponsor at OasisGames.com, OasisCG.com, and MTGOasis.com. We're happy to help you out. And they give you great deals at those discount codes mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. Our next Patreon goal is a special episode for patrons of the show. Basically, it will be the three of us around a microphone or 2 or 3 talking about whatever the heck we want.
Yeah, hanging out.
I thought our next Patreon goal was robotic exoskeletons. Is that
What is that? I don't know what that is.
Robotic exoskeletons,
like Iron Man or like a mech suit?
Yeah, I would.
I feel like that's more expensive than $150 a month.
Oh, maybe
I would.
Maybe I
so
was
take
tipping.
advantage of that.
Is there a goal where we get to fly to GPs in Iron Man suits? Because I'm happy about that one.
Yeah, I thought that was next. If that's not next,
Do you mean fly in an airplane in Iron Man suits, or like fly in Iron Man suits?
fly
like
using
with your
Iron Man?
hands and
using
feet.
Iron Man
Okay,
suits with
okay.
hands and feet.
I don't think the technology's there yet.
It probably is.
I don't think so.
Well,
if jetpacks exist, that technology is probably there, right?
I mean, they like kind of exist.
they're not great for long distances is the thing, but with
Is
enough,
that just because of like the
if-
fuel we use?
plausibly, I'm not.
I
too
think
sure.
it's the fact that your body is soft and fragile and shouldn't be flying through the air
Well,
unprotected.
you could travel the entire ocean on a jetpack, right? Because you can just use a water pack.
Yeah, I mean that's a long flight. I don't know how fast those things are.
I think they go like 35.
So it would take like weeks, months.
Real like pioneer style.
You'd have to have
Travel.
like a raft you
have
could
to have
land
a raft
on.
attached to you.
Yeah,
to
you could
sleep
land
in.
on and sleep in, and that sounds miserable.
Yeah. Anyway, so check out the Patreon page at patreon.com/ccmtg. Manny, where can people find you?
They can find me on Facebook. My name there is Manuel, Manuel. Last name Meraz, Meraz. Want to chat a lot with me? I'm on the Constructive Criticism Facebook group a lot. I love being on there. I love talking to people. You can also find me on Twitter. My name there is Manny, Manny_CCMTG. But I'm like 1,000% sure I'm going to change that to Rain Manny.
I knew you would.
Yeah.
There was a huge thread of like thanks for the Facebook group and the community, and I just want to echo that. You can find me on Spencer13H on Twitter, Spencer Stephen Hallen on Facebook. But the Facebook group is actually amazing. If you don't have a Facebook, you should create one. Just join the group.
And you will be added to it faster than you can believe if you request it. I'll get a notification on my phone that somebody
will already
requested
have
to
them
join
added,
it.
yeah.
I actually have removed everybody from adding people but me.
Oh, really?
I did.
Oh, okay.
The reason for that was the spam bots that were getting added. Not a fault of you or Matt Kling who were adding everybody else, but like as somebody who's done the Utah MTG thing for like 3 years, I just know what a spam bot looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really vetting people, but I was removing people from the group after they spam.
Yeah, it's kind of hard because like once your group gets to a certain point, that's like all you get. But if you're not in the Facebook group, do it. I will probably talk to Matt and these guys about how to vet them.
You should have listeners have a special code that they message you with,
They can
like
just
along
report
with it. Huh?
There's a button on Facebook to report spam. They can just do it.
No, I mean once they're asking to be a part of the group.
No, that seems unnecessary.
Oh, that seems so fun though. Like it's like
They
spies.
get secret code.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
we're in the Cold
so-
War.
Anyway,
So we'll send you a decoder ring.
The secret code this week will be Rain Manny.
no, that's not happening. I'm not feeding this ego. This is a joke that will never die. This is the grilled cheese of Manny. It is.
I'll drink your blood.
I know that. I mean, it's not. First of all, that one is my fault. This one is also my fault, but I wish it didn't happen. I'm the one that did this, and like Manny's rolling with it, which is very different than I'm used to.
Oh, I love it so much.
Like Quentin pantsing people was funny, and then like you eat like
Wait,
loving
did that
grilled cheese
happen?
was great. I don't know that it ever happened. I said it happened, and people talked about it. And
Oh,
like,
okay. God, I missed something.
I mean, you wouldn't be surprised if Quentin pants.
No,
somebody.
it feels so well within his range.
Right, exactly.
I would
That's
not
why
be.
it was funny.
I've only hung out with the guy a total of maybe 15 hours, and I definitely could see that happening.
Yeah, that's just something Quentin would do. But I feel like the Rain Manny was supposed to be like this haha moment, and like it's now Manny like is Rain Manny, and that's a problem for me. I don't know why. But the Facebook group is great. If you haven't joined it, you should join it. Casey, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at CCBloodthirst or on Facebook at CaseyTunaBloodworth, or you can email me your questions or hate mail at casey.bloodworth@hotmail.com.
I have so much hate mail for you. I've been saving
I've
it
got-
for
I-
months.
I don't believe you.
Oh, so many things.
I do want to read Manny's shoutouts. So for the next like 3 seconds, adult content will be provided. So the exact shoutouts written down for Manny are Riley, fuck him. Manny loves him, and he wants to put a heart over the I.
No, what I said was his name is with two Y's, and then I said his name is with a Y, and then I said I should clarify it's two Y's, not an I and an E with a heart over the I.
All of what you're saying is being edited out.
Okay.
What's important is that Manny hates Riley but loves him and wants to put a heart over his I.
That's the gist of it.
It's a love
And
relationship.
then you have one more shout out to
Matt Kramer.
who's that?
Matt.
Who's that?
He's so
Who dat?
So not everybody that listens to the show is in the Facebook group. So explain who he is.
Oh, he's on the Facebook group. So he's a guy. He's a guy who does guy things.
There's
magic.
literally 4,200
he posts-
listeners, and you're talking to 120 of them.
He's the one with the face.
He's the guy. He's the guy. He's
He's got a face and a name named Matt.
He's always talking about those things. He plays Red Black Dragons, and he posted his list. He did very well at a PPTQ. And I said, this guy, he knows what's going on. He's a smart man. So I copied him, and I did well.
Good on you. So for me, I have quite a few shout outs this week. First of all, is to my wife, Debonair. I love her. It was a great Valentine's Day, and I appreciate her. Bodie, one of the patrons of the show, one of the cool guys that we got to meet in Vegas, Casey.
Yeah.
He actually got engaged on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. Congrats, man.
Yeah, so congrats to him. Kyle was a Utah listener that I got to play against on Wednesday that crushinated me. Caused me to drop from the tournament because I don't play on Wednesdays after I lose.
Who got you?
His name was Kyle.
2 weeks in a row?
No, just last week.
Oh, that 1 week. I see.
Yeah. So shout out to him. I don't really lose on Wednesdays, and it was great to lose to a listener. You would think that would bother me, but it was actually one of those proud moments. I don't know why. And then I have a huge shout out to the Salt Lake contingent or the Valley contingent. So the listeners of Salt Lake have grown exponentially in the last little while. I have literally gone to 5 events in a row where somebody is a listener of the show and thanks me for the show.
Sweet.
In Salt Lake, and that did not happen before. Most of our listeners were in Australia or Europe or the East Coast, and now Salt Lake people are listening to the podcast. So if you're a Salt Lake listener and listening to the show, shout out to you for coming up to me and talking to me. It's really a cool feeling, and now that PTQs are gone and I'm not going to as many GPs, it really reinforces that thing that Casey and I used to talk about
Warm fuzzies.
Yeah, those warm fuzzies. And Casey, I want to give a shout out to you for being on the show this week.
Thanks for making it, man.
Yeah. It's Tuesday or something.
Yeah. Well, thanks. It's good to be here.
Good to be back.
Yeah, I have a shout out for you guys for not hating my guts, at least to my face.
That's the key word.
For just being gone yesterday, not being able to make it, and then also, we had we were going to try to Skype it, but it just didn't work out. Couldn't get it quite on either side. And yeah, these guys have basically not complained to me at all, even though they probably owe me at least a little. So huge shout out. Well, now you guys will feel like jerks if you do, huh?
I have never once said any bad words about Casey for missing a podcast other than behind his back. That's all I'm going to say.
Sure.
Also, how was Wendover? So for those who don't know, Casey missed the podcast because he
went gambling.
It was Valentine's Day, and his mom needed the house to herself.
Oh, I wouldn't go into this. I would really strike all that from the record.
What?
Because that just
your mom's never going to listen to this.
No, it's nobody needs to listen to that.
But Casey, you went to Wendover.
Yes, I did.
And the best, so Casey's actually texting me from Wendover, and he's like, "I'm on life tilt." I was like, "What happened?" And he's like, "I'm playing blackjack, and a guy had 5-6, he had a jack, and then hit again." I literally text him, "I don't believe you."
It was worse than that.
Yeah, so he had 16. He had 7-9 hits, gets a 5. So now he's at 21, hard 21.
Whatever happened, he was a hard 21 and you text me.
Yeah, and then he hits. And I don't know that he's a hard 21 at this time, because in Wendover, they play single deck blackjack, they deal your cards face down. He hits, gets a jack, whatever, hits 31, flips his cards up. I look at him, and I'm like, "You had 21." And he was like, "Oh, I thought it was 12. And then I go, whatever. I don't even remember if I won or lost my money that hand. I just walk away from the table, and I'm like, text Spencer, I'm like, I'm on tilt forever. My life's over.
He still hasn't recovered.
Yeah.
He talked about it today.
I had a similar experience at the PPTQ when I played Quentin Pierce, right? Former co-host, magic genius extraordinaire, very good player. I started sweating when I sit down to play him. I beat him, right? I get him 2-1. So I beat him. Jeez, that was gross, Spencer. So anyway, I beat him, and then the judge, Eric, comes by, right? And I give him the match slip, and he looks at it, and he's all like, "Is this right?"
You won.
Yeah. Then he does that. He says, "You won." And I was like, "Yes." And he was like, "Okay." And then he walks over to Quentin and goes, "Hey, Quentin, is this right? He won?" And he was like, "Yeah, man. He won 2-1." And he was like, "Okay." Most insulting, 2 minutes of my life.
Yeah, that's super condescending.
Yeah. I mean, Eric's a really nice guy.
I'm
but...
sure he didn't mean it to be as super insulting as it was.
Sure. It was surprising. He was surprised.
We do have one last segment. Hashtag Would It Be Good. Hashtag Would It Be Good is our Twitter outreach program. You can just tweet us with hashtag Would It Be Good, and we're happy to answer it for you. Ready to do this, Manny?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. So the first one we have is let's hashtag make modern great again. And then the podcast from last week, hashtag MTG podcast, hashtag Would That Be Good. Please tweet with hashtag make modern great again. Talk about it. Talk about unbannings. I listened to a couple podcasts this week from people that I really respect, and they all talked about bannings. I'm sick of bannings. I'm done with bannings in modern. I hope you are too. Please talk about hashtag make modern great again, and let's make modern great again. We're done with bannings. It's time to unban some cards and make modern great again.
Yeah, let's just unleash the format. Let's see some real power in it.
Yeah. Dragonlord Quarrelgang Red Black Dragons. Hashtag Would That Be Good. I would never play Red Black Dragons. You could not convince me to do it. Manny, what do you think of Dragonlord Quarrelgang?
It's amazing. Dragonlord Culligan is by far the best card in that deck.
So you're thinking of Culligan.
Oh, Storm's Fury.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, Dragonlord Culligan is nonsense. You don't want to play that.
That's the 6-mana one.
Yeah.
You don't think you even want one?
Nope.
Okay, there you go.
So Culligan Storm's
Jason,
Fury.
I would just recommend you play another deck. Because that deck is bad.
Sure. Yeah, I would not try that.
Matthew says, can playing duels be considered practice for MTG? I aim to be competitive. Hashtag Would That Be Good? So I don't know how. I actually just don't have duels on my phone or on my iPad. So I don't know if it's good practice. I will say this, though. Critical thinking is always going to help you improve at Magic. So if you can find yourself in a situation where you need to practice critical thinking, that's great. In Constructed, though, it is important to know the decks you're playing against and how to play against them. So like reading articles, watching videos, or playing is going to be more helpful than just playing Magic, than playing Duels with Planeswalkers. Very happy to meet listener I Love Ducks 11. That was Kyle. He crushed me at Standard, so that was great. 4 days until triannual discount candy day. Hashtag Would That Be Good? So that's funny.
That's great. That's
triannual candy day.
By far the best day of the year to get candy.
Unblend, Blood Red Elf, Dark Depths, Dread Return, Green Sun Zenith, Jace, Preordain, and Sword of... Is that Sword of the Meek?
Yeah.
So I would never unban that sword.
Make modern great again.
And then make modern great again. So I actually agree with all of them but that sword. I would actually just never, ever unban that sword. That's not something I would ever do. Saw Deadpool in the top 5 movies of this decade. Go see it. Ryan Reynolds is only Deadpool. Hashtag Would That Be Good. At Ben Bateman. I don't know who Ben Bateman is.
I don't know either.
Did you see Deadpool?
I did, yeah.
Was it great?
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was very funny.
I saw it with Devonair.
Did you? Oh.
I was surprised about that other than Casey who's not here. Everybody's surprised about that.
Yeah, I'm shocked that she would go to see that. Did she like it?
She did.
Cool.
Lost round 1 of game day, usually would tilt out, took one game at a time after this cast, and won out. Hashtag with hiccup. Hashtag Would That Be Good?
Awesome.
Anytime that anybody takes what we said into the cast into consideration and wins because of it.
Yeah, you and me both, Eggbeat. We're on the same plan.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Using Vidal Checkos to smash my opponent's realities. So if you took a reality smasher with Vidal Checkos, I'm proud of you, and that hashtag would be good. Today was a good day. 5-0 Modern League and a Standard one. Hashtag winning always feels better. Hashtag would that be good. That's from Vinny.
Nice, Vinny. That's crushing it.
Go, Vinny. 10-0 matches right there. at Wizards of Magic should unban stuff from Modern, keep the format from getting worse. Hashtag make Modern great again. Hashtag it'll be good. Tweet it, guys. Make Modern great again. Tweet it, Wizards. We want to see it. You want to see it. Nobody wants bannings. Bannings feel bad. It feels like you're losing something rather than gaining something. Let's start the unbanning process. Let's do this. Let's make Modern great again. Specific H, what do you think of Serum Powder and Eldrazi? Might be a little insane, but you're only looking for Soul Lands. I kind of answered this. I think that you're not doing degenerate enough stuff to warrant this. I don't think that you want Serum Powder in a deck that like basically is just looking for like a Soul Ring of a land. And I think if you were doing more degenerate stuff, that could be worth it, but you're just not. And the Mulligan rule already just like positively affects you anyway. So that's my answer to that. You know what Serum Powder does?
No, I have
It
never
gives you
heard of
free
this card.
mulligans.
What?
You exile it in your hand to get a free mulligan.
Back up to 7.
Back it up to 7 in your opener if Serum Powder is there.
That's crazy.
It's like this 2-mana artifact. It doesn't really do anything else, so I just don't think it's worth it in these decks.
Sure. I mean, it's hard, right? When you can win on turn 2 with the right hand.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. We really appreciate it. It was a longer podcast this week. I knew it was going to be. Shout out to Casey. He left us early, even though he missed an entire podcast yesterday.
Made it up.
Kind of. He left early.
Like 2 minutes early. He's okay.
I had to take him home.
No, he was going to dinner with his dad.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a reason.
Yeah, he's waiting for him.
Oh.
Hope he enjoys it.
I do too. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you all next week.
Have a good one.